Oh,
Ooh,
are we showing up?
We're live.
Yeah.
yes.
Should be.
Okay. Give me 1 sec to see if we pop up.
We're up. It's going.
Yeah, I got the notification. We should be good.
I got the link, which I'm gonna just tweet on my own, but I
What's
also tweet it.
good? What's going on?
Hello, welcome. Give me 1 second to
watching.
Yeah.
send out the link on all of our social and whatnot. For some reason, my chat keeps disappearing. That's totally cool. Everything is going amazing and is totally, completely under control. I have not been in the rain all weekend. Things are going amazing.
We're so high energy right now.
We're
We've spent all
so-
weekend.
It's
sarcastically, but I'm all the way up here. You can't see, but my hand is really high up.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm just vibing.
I'm all the way up here. Hand is at the ground.
I am
Alright.
tuned up. I am ready. Let's do it.
Well, while I
Going,
get
folks.
this link tweeted out and whatnot, hello, and welcome to the Season 4 post-season Q&A for Rolling with Difficulty. Heyo!
Well,
A lot of ups and downs in that. Really took us on a journey with that one.
Rolling with difficulty.
Rolling with
landed
difficulty.
here.
rolling with difficulty.
Rolling with difficulty.
Look, we're all...
We need a new bit,
That'd be
guys.
Newport.
I don't think we need a new bit. I think we need to beat this one into the ground.
Bits were made to be broken.
Once we do that, we can release the Fibonacci cut.
But we're going to be here for the next 2 hours answering you guys' questions, both from our email and from the chat. So please not all at once, but if you would like to drop a question in the chat, you guys are more than welcome to, and we would be excited to have you. But we're going to be talking about Season 4 and beyond. So to kick us off, I've got a bit of a fun one from the email just to get the ball rolling. This one is for Kyana from Raphael. Monks get proficiency in one tool or musical instrument at level 1. Is Kyana secretly talented at some sort of instrument?
That's such a good question. I have absolutely no idea what I put that proficiency into. Let me just pull up my character sheet real quick to see if that solves this mystery, because it's in something.
It's gotta be. It's bound to be in something.
I have a vague memory of like Kyana having a pan flute. That would be my bet.
Yeah.
If that is the case.
Let me just check the weirder parts of my inventory. Oh, where'd this ring of water walking come from? I think I probably have like thieves' tools or something. Or no, I've got a healer's kit for some reason.
I can give you the answer. The answer is you chose woodcarver's tools.
Oh, that's
okay.
weird. They're not even in my backpack anymore.
Well, they're not items you got. There's a proficiency you chose.
Oh,
So
It's
if you
something
I'm
found,
good at.
if you
Great.
like
Use
found
all
them
of
in
them,
the
don't count
universe, you'd get them. You know, like if you found a pair,
Cool.
Kyana would be like, I know how to carve wood, but until then, it's.
The lore
knows?
implications are immense because that suggests that there was like a wood carving class at the monastery.
While you were going outside, I studied the chisel.
Yeah, it's important for woodcarver's tools confirmed it.
How about
It's
that?
important to provide stimulation and enrichment for your livestock. So
Ugh, thanks.
What a
You're welcome.
awful way to think about it.
Wow, it's almost like they're bad guys.
Yeah, someone was talking recently about like the food, and someone saying like, because I think Red, I think at some point in this past season you said something along the effect of like I didn't eat this good, but like kind of implied it was like it was amount of food in the monastery, and people were arguing about that because they were like, well, we know that she didn't eat as good, like the food wasn't as good, but were they starving them?
No.
And the answer is no. They were going to use them as
Yeah.
they needed them healthy, so
Yeah, no,
they were feeding them.
implication was that it was like all the same kind of like cave algae or whatever
Schlop.
the fuck.
Mhm.
Just like gross,
They were
but
getting all their
extremely-
vitamins and minerals,
Yeah, extremely nutritious stuff. Look, if we never saw the sun, we had to be getting that vitamin D from somewhere, okay?
Yeah.
Like, it had to come from
Exactly.
something.
But we got more
But, like-
questions in the chat to get to. This one comes from Music Enthusiast 135. What would your character's yearbook superlatives be? Austin, you can pick a couple NPCs for this question, whatever you think's interesting or fun. So we're all in your best dressed, you're most likely to succeed. What is the crew of the Parasperas and associated NPCs yearbook superlatives?
Davians is most likely to suck eggs.
You know how there's like
Wow,
most likely to become
Oof.
there's like most likely to become president. I think Vera's would be like most likely to fight the president.
I can't believe the 1930s embodied themselves in Austin for that one moment just to insult Davian as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, the epitome of insults. Suck eggs.
I love David. I know that he's awesome. Everyone else does. No one else has caught up to that yet. Actually, I think some people have now, but
Well, he had that
Yeah.
one really good round, so
Yeah.
mhm.
to make up for a lifetime of disappointments.
What's everyone else's?
sometimes that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think Dani missed picture day and therefore is not actually featured in the yearbook, so hers is just like a .exe file not found error, like where the picture. This happened to a lot of people in my high school. Like you just don't have a picture, and
Oh,
Wow.
okay. Yeah.
What would her superlative? So
Wait, you
she would
didn't
have a
have a page that
superlative, but
was,
then it
like,
would just be a blank
camera
like
shy?
image.
it would just be like, that's a good question. What's like the opposite of most likely to succeed that you could conceivably put in a high school yearbook?
Most likely to go to jail.
Most
Most likely to
suck
get
eggs.
arrested.
Yeah,
They
most
would
likely-
not. They would not have that as a superlative.
Okay,
Okay.
you say that, but
That's
the
good.
yearbook
though.
committee
That's
at my
very
high
funny.
school got in trouble for an extremely insulting superlative they just randomly assigned to one of our classmates. It was like most likely to sleep with a teacher or something. They got in so much fucking trouble and had to formally apologize.
That is.
I mean,
so
that just
funny.
proves
That
my
is so
point. They
funny.
wouldn't do it. Like the yearbook gods would not allow it. By yearbook gods, I mean the faculty and staff of your particular
The
school.
lady of pain.
They still
Yeah.
got away with it though, right? It made
No,
it.
no.
Oh, that's less fun. Okay. Never
Uh,
mind.
I mean, even if they did, they'd probably do a thing where they have to tape over the
Yeah.
thing with a
Okay,
label.
you know
I was
what?
in yearbook committee in senior
I
year.
figured
know
out.
this.
Dani has no picture, but her superlative is most photogenic.
I love it. It's beautiful.
What about
Least likely to turn blue.
what about Virla, Vhas, Kyana? What are we doing?
I have no idea.
I think Virla had the most likely to fight the president.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going with that.
Yeah.
There is sunniest disposition and stuff like that.
Yeah, like best
I'll take
smile.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
200. Yeah, that's definitely Kyana for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to put
What
in
about Vhas and or Finbar?
I would put in for Finbar and Elise, cutest couple. Could be a thing.
Oh yeah,
Aw.
for sure.
Aw.
Yeah.
I'm just
Um,
sorry.
Sexiest couple.
I think Vhas should get best smile. I also
That's
Smile,
good.
Yeah.
good.
You know how
Yeah.
sometimes they'll do we're gonna take this hip story but we're gonna high schoolify it and
Yeah.
the big bad is gonna get recast as the principal like that.
Yeah.
The idea of welcome to Sigil High. Oh no, Principal Payne is on the way. I just love this
Very
concept so much.
JLA.
You're talking about the high school AU, of which there are, I
Exactly.
think, a couple of fan fictions.
See,
What?
We can go through the rest of the cat with the NPCs of this because I'm looking up a list of
Well-
some superlatives. There's biggest flirt, there's class clown, the party is alive. Most
Well, there you go.
of
That's
the
Madison
Finbar and
gets
Vhas right
class
there.
clown.
you know.
That's
Yeah.
Finbar and Vhas. You
Yeah,
got it
you
in
just
one.
named
Biggest
them.
flirt, biggest class clown.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do have other
best
questions to get
hair?
to, so maybe not the
I didn't know
whole
that we really
list.
do.
Yeah,
Okay.
what
Yeah.
more could we possibly need?
Yeah.
Thanks
Best
for tuning into the
romance.
superlative stream, everyone.
You know.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
We're gonna take another question from chat. This one comes from Mask of the Red Inconvenience to Wally. Now that Finbar is gone, who are the rest of the exes?
I really have to pull out this list.
Ooh.
That explains
God.
why everyone was posting
I
hashtag
do
release the
have it
X's.
right here.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I do
should
have
be-
the X list.
Okay, then you can
If you
drop
don't have
it
it
for now.
available.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wally.
Yeah.
All right. Not to steal this from you, but we have X's listed in order that you sent me, Tom. Sent
Okay.
them to me. We have Gilda Ashmarsh, a ladrin, typically in spring from the Feywild, from a neighboring village past a dangerous hag's domain. First girlfriend. Ended on a sour
Aw.
note when the when the hag sowed trouble between the two villages.
Aw.
She's an acolyte of Chantia.
Oh.
We have Sidney, who we knew about.
Yeah.
Working long hours in close proximity led to some intense emotions. Once they were outside the kitchen, they didn't last.
Aw.
Oof.
Aw.
We have Addie Azura Spark, Fairbog living at a Fey crossing between the Beastlands and the Fey Dark. Dropped out of the academy, the Searing Tongue, to deal with some issues at home. Would have been cool to see her. We have Zimrissa, obviously. Changeling working for the Searing Tongue. A toxic on and off relationship due to her hostile emotional state.
Okay, hear me out. We play a one shot where we are all Finbar's exes.
That's pretty good.
Ooh, that's good. I
And we
like
play the
that.
other
Wait,
side
we
of,
haven't
like-
got to my favorite yet one. though.
We play like the other side of Scott Pilgrim. where-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys were all trying to beat Finbar.
That would be
Yeah.
so good.
Or I guess Elise.
Yeah, we'd be trying to beat Elise.
All right.
Yes.
Last one before Elise Mardoon, which I don't know if we ever talked about her last name. Apparently, she has a last name. It's Mardoon.
Not anymore.
Senosha, that's true. Senosha of the Burning Vale. Goliath, half fire giant from the city of Brass.
Hey.
Playing before going separate ways. Spends most of her time on the material plane in Kalmashan. So that's why we never saw her, even though we were at Brass so much.
Ah.
Yep. That's
There
the
you are,
list.
folks.
That
Yep.
was the exes.
Woo!
What was the little blurb for Elise?
Don't ask me again.
Elise have a little blurb. Met on the Whipped Crown and shared some smaller adventures while together. Relationship ended when their mentor died. Currently reconnected and trying to make it work.
Aw.
We made it work, folks.
Aww. I love it when a story has a happy ending. We'll take another question from chat here. This one from Ann Keener. Austin, how dead would the party have been if Dani hadn't grabbed Kyana when she did? So let's talk about season 4 a little bit.
Good question. So some people questioned
Yeah.
my math on this because I said that if Kyana soloed the Elder Brain, she had a shot. And they were like, I don't think she does because... Let me pull up the Elder Brain stat block, actually. I don't think she does because look how she got when she was fighting it with a team, right? She got force caged, and that was quite bad for her.
You gotta stop putting me in bubbles, man.
She has to roll a natural 1 in order to miss, so she's going to deal a tremendous amount of damage to this thing. And
long
has
as
no
I'm not
damage
in
to
the bubble.
resistances. So there was the problem that it can, if it bubbles her, it can mind blast her, which is the thing that stuns her. But and that's a considerable amount of psychic damage. But I think that the Elder Brain, a one-on-one situation where it didn't have to deal with crowd control, wouldn't have done that. It would have just tried to tentacle and like do other stuff to her to death, which is 2 tentacle attacks on a turn, and they deal a considerable amount of damage. But it was definitely possible. So how screwed were they? Dani definitely set them up for success. Could they have done it? Absolutely. Would someone have died? I say not guaranteed, but decent odds. But I don't think we were staring down. I don't think we were staring down TPK, which I think a lot of people thought we were staring down at TPK,
Including me.
Yeah.
Just one
I had
person
2
would
whole
survive,
weeks
and
to stress over that.
only one person would survive, and it's arguably worse than it's.
Yeah.
Vhas starts the new crew.
Oh my god!
Vhas has the ship. We just get 3
Free
new
ships.
PCs.
Yep. Uh-huh.
All right, Mike. Let me tell you about the crew of the Prospera. I don't fucking know.
Bunch of really cool dudes. There was this metal bloke.
Yeah.
It was
Let me tell you-
real
let me tell you
friendly,
how you-
like.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I got a spell jammer for free.
yeah.
This scam never fails, mate.
Oh man.
But luckily, that didn't happen. I made Austin hang on the Discord call with me like an extra 5-10 minutes after that session ended. The first session before the name of the episode is escaping me because there was a lot of episodes that I really did not have names for off the top of my head this season. Oh boy. Let's fumble over some words, and then we're going to open up the podcast app and we're going to scroll right down.
Episode 8.
Noble Deeds before at the end of episode 7 before we got to episode 8.
Yeah.
Austin very kindly hung on the call with me, and I was like, so can you figure out exactly how this plane shift thing works if I target someone who don't want to plane shift? So it was tough going for 2 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, like knowing that I had a plan, but knowing that I cannot tell anyone else that I have an idea, because if I do, it'll be less dramatic, and also maybe they'll have counter plans. I'm like, there's such a small percentage of this working. I really don't want us to fight this Elder Brain. Let's see if we can't make this sneaky. And apparently a lot of other people also contacted Austin individually to talk about it. So that's fun. We all were stressed, but having
there were
fun.
multiple plans. There was multiple plans because obviously like Red had expressed what she wanted to do, and then I was talking to Wally about Vhas's options, and then if I remember correctly, I texted Noir. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Should I be doing something?"
No. What it was I guess it could have been boiled down to that, but it was I don't really want to be doing what Kyana's doing, but if Kyana's gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. But if Dan is gonna do something that's gonna circumvent Kyana, I'm doing what Dan his main goal really was just trying to keep as many people alive, and if it meant that Kyana was going to go in, then to Virla, she wasn't going to go in alone. But if Dani was going to find something to do to circumvent that, then he's all for it. The only thing that he had was that second level hold person spell, which was a wisdom saving throw. So he was like, I was like 90% sure that it wasn't going to work. But it was like the last thing that
Also,
he could try.
brains aren't humanoids, so they
It
don't
would have
work.
worked
Also
on
that,
me.
yeah.
No, gonna do it on Kyana.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah.
Womp
Yeah.
womp.
Yeah.
And in fact, it didn't work.
It didn't.
Nope. But all's well that ends well. We all survived season 4. We'll see how it goes after that. I'm seeing some people talking about pins in the chat. If you guys want pins merch, I can look into it. But we don't make the merch ourselves currently. We go through like a fulfillment, Redbubble fulfillment. So they don't offer pins. But if we can find a company that does, maybe we'll look into it. So if you're interested, cool. I would love a pin. But there's no plans or promises to be made at this point. We're going to do a question from the email next. We're going to throw it over to Mars in our email. They ask, to all, what modern fashion aesthetics do you think your characters would wear?
Ooh.
So you know they make sleeveless sweatshirts?
They're
They're
Yeah.
so comfy.
getting
I
the
hear-
rock
I hear.
branded athletic gear.
I think
I feel like Kyana would be like very athleisure.
yeah, very like but like cozy athleisure, you know, like on the border of being mostly sweatshirts and sweatpants, but like all sleeveless, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
What is the rocks line called? I can't think of it right now. It's got
I
the
think
bull
I
on
have
it.
a sleeveless sweat.
I don't understand them. My dad bought a whole bunch, and I'm like, how are you? In what situation are you so warm you don't want any sleeves, but you're cold enough? You're like, yeah, I need a hood.
You gotta protect the extremities. You
It's
know.
for the fashion.
The
Yeah.
arms are extremities.
You know, your
I feel
is really the most
insane.
important part when you're staying warm.
Yeah.
After all, as we all learned from Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins, your arms will take care of themselves. Focus on your core.
Austin,
Yeah.
you
There you
know
go.
that my thermal regulation only happens through my forearms, so I'll
Your
I'll be in the hottest weather wearing all black long sleeves just rolled up.
It's
so.
true.
Bill Belichick, yeah, exactly. How
It's
he is
true. I've seen him
Victoria.
at the beach
I
in
was like,
long sleeves and jeans. I think Dani would do like, you know, like tech wear, like that sort of like let's have a
Yeah.
bunch of
Yeah.
lanyards
Oh
and
my-
whatnot,
okay.
and
Oh,
but
hell yeah.
but
Okay,
she has
sick.
the
God,
most
yeah.
like biker gang leather jacket on top of whatever she's wearing at any given point, because obviously we got to keep the brand.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we really lean into it.
Virla's a big sweater guy.
Yeah,
Big-
yeah.
He wouldn't.
Big
He
sweater.
wouldn't. He wouldn't wear scarves all year round, but like definitely like once it hits fall winter, oh yeah, that baby's going on.
Scarves all the time.
Mm-hmm. I'd say Vhas's. Have you guys seen the like definitely like Bloodborne Gothic, like over the top.
Wait, that's Vhas or Finbar?
That's Vhas, not Finbar.
Okay.
That's Vhas for sure. Sort of leading into like sort of like a like Gothic Victorian vibe.
Mm.
And then I guess Finbar's more like cottage core.
Yeah.
Aw.
Maybe what am I thinking? Not cashmere. What's the corduroy? There we go.
Mm.
Corduroy is his textile of choice.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this next question comes from Reploid404 in the chat. Hey, Austin, was it weird for you that the Baldur's Gate 3 kind of lined up with your guys' season 4 ending? I guess generally to open it up to everyone, like, who's played Baldur's Gate and how closely does it, like, how much? I know that it deals with mind players a lot, which I think is why it's associated with the pod so much, but we do get a lot of questions about have we played Baldur's Gate and what do we think of all the space stuff or Planescape stuff and the pod story and whatnot. So feel free to, I'm just rambling. Someone interrupt at any point, please.
Yeah, I'd love to. Part of the inspiration for the show was like they released that cinematic years ago, and I was like, I need to do something with it. Like, I want to do this. I want to see Nautiloids. I want to see Gith on the backs of dragons, and I want to see mind flayers. So I haven't played the game, so I don't know how much plot, like, and if there was any more specifics other than like the things that are definitely going to happen when you deal with mind flayers and Gith Yankee, like the game does. I don't know how specific it gets, but yeah, that's the reason for it. So yeah, it's not coincidence. But I think, if you're gonna do a Spelljammer / Planescape, like you gotta have those guys in it. Like they're what's fun about it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a similar inspiration source kind of convergence thing more than an intentional, like, weird. Baldur's Gate's doing us and we're doing Baldur's Gate. Like, we don't have that kind of relationship with Larian's doing
No, we
us.
definitely inspired Baldur's Gate.
No.
To catch what you just said, Baldur's Gate did inspire this. Absolutely. The cinematic inspired me. So
actually, in Act 3 in Baldur's Gate, you'll find a party of 4, like a giant, a small blonde monk, a robot automaton, and
You can't actually play Dani in Baldur's Gate without modding the game because the Artificer and Genasi class and race do not exist in the base game.
Well, how do you think I feel? Can't play any Warforged. I think Kyana's the only one that you could actually play vanilla.
Do they have
Kalashtar in the game?
I don't know if Kalashtar.
Oh, never mind. Forget
I only
that.
look like a human.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah. We'll take another question from chat. This one comes from that cryptic Robin. For Sophia, what's your advice for starting a podcast? You handle most of the editing and behind the scenes things. What programs do you use? If it's okay, I'm gonna ask again. Sorry, I asked it before. My biggest advice is like to worry a little less about the tech specific stuff and to focus instead on what your podcast is actually going to be about. I do all of the behind the scenes stuff for this other than creating the adventures because that is up to our lovely DM Austin. But when it comes to whether you're making like an actual play or like a more conversation-y podcast or something interview based, you want to ask yourself like, why do I want to talk about this thing? And do I think I could do or talk about this thing for more than 1 or 2 episodes, So I think in the YouTube space a lot, you get people who have like one really good video idea and they make it and it's awesome and they can kind of just like jump around and do whatever that one interesting thing is. But podcasts are really big on consistency. So like with Rolling with Difficulty and Movie Struck and the Early Sarcastic podcast, among others that I've produced, all of them have a thesis that you can recreate ad infinitum, keep doing, and I personally find very interesting. So just try and think about your topic a little bit and make sure you have that locked down as to not only something that you think you could talk about, but that you'd be interested in. And in terms of like programs and tech stuff, I use the Adobe suites because I freelance, video edit, and podcast produce, and that's my whole job. Free softwares like Audacity, I'd work just as good for podcasting. You don't need anything super fancy. Same with microphones, like a good USB mic, like a nice mid-tier amateur level microphone is going to get you pretty far. Worry about having a fun thing that you like to do before you worry about having perfect technical specs and editing and all that kind of fun stuff. But I don't know if anyone else has podcast starting advice.
No.
Find someone like Sophia to run it.
Yeah.
Hire me.
We're kind of spoiled.
All right, we'll take a question from email and then we'll jump back to chat. This one comes from Sir Lightning Potato. What would happen if Virla tried to cast Sending to Suvi? Would it go to just Kyana, not work, or actually let him talk to Suvi?
I did see someone talk about this in the Discord. I believe the wording of Sending is it has to go to someone with whom you are familiar. I don't know if Virla is really familiar with Suvi.
That's an interesting existential question.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some probably like rules is written maybe to I wouldn't deem Suvi as a separate creature from Kyana. Like you can't attack Suvi with a spell, right? Like you can't target her with Dominate Monster and then like make Kyana dance around, right?
Oh,
so
how fun would that be?
It would be really fun. I would rule that it goes to Kyana, but Suvi's the answering machine in case Kyana's asleep.
What?
Ooh.
Interesting.
That basically happened in the first season. Of
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was sending while I was unconscious.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a one-way thing. Virla can communicate to Suvi, but Suvi can't communicate to Virla necessarily.
Yeah, not really directly like that now.
Yeah.
Neat. We'll take another question from chat. This comes from Daniel Flores de Valgaz. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. In planning the proverbial Dani season, did Austin plan to make Dani captain? Most of the other seasons had a much more clear trajectory from episode 1 due to villains, but this was a character-driven season. I didn't, but I don't know if Austin did.
This is extremely funny. I was talking to I figured I was like, I know what Dani has been getting at. I don't need to. Sophia and I don't really need to talk about this. Like it's very clear to me. It's been set up. And then Wally was talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I want to do like this to set up her like captain arc. I was like, oh, that sounds awesome, Wally. And then after like episode 5 or something, Sophia's like, I think Dani wants to be captain. I was like, yeah, I know.
Well, I'm glad everyone
this in
else was
question?
aware. I wasn't. I was the last person.
Everyone else in
The lesson here is if you assume
I
something
didn't know.
about your players, ask.
Yeah.
I'll just assume, but it all ended up working out. But you're absolutely right that this was a like more of a character driven. In fact, it was the season that had the most like me figuring out plans as we were going, because I knew I had to keep it loose depending on like big character choices that could be made because it's character driven. So I have to be open to what they want to do, as opposed to early on where I'm like, and the next episode you're going to this place and you're doing this thing, have fun.
Yeah, because me and Austin did talk a little bit before the season started about like, oh, we've kind of done like the other character seasons, like what in a theoretical Dani season, what would you want? And I was like, oh, she doesn't really have any villains. It's more like an interpersonal character arc. Like I want her to get some agency. Never said the word captain until episode 5. But then
and she still hasn't.
And I still haven't. Then I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I texted Austin, shit, am I just doing a Rocket Raccoon? And it was very shortly after that I'm like, I think Dani should be captain. So the moral story here is to communicate, which I think might also be the moral of the season.
It ended up working out perfectly well.
Yeah.
I will say, let me see if I have it here somewhere. We were talking about what the Dani season would look like, and you kept circling back to like, Dani was like, Dani doesn't want to do any of this anymore. And I was like, okay, is that the end of the show then? Because if Dani doesn't want to do that anymore, she takes her ship and goes home. That's pretty definitive to me. So
that's the really dangerous part. Well, that's the hard part of making any D&D character is like, it's so tempting to be like, yeah, I want to do like a cool, like kind of just a guy who's just like doing his own thing, and it's like cool, but your character has to want to participate in the plot, because otherwise they're just going to be dragged kicking and screaming into the plot, and that's like annoying for the DM and the other players.
Yeah, I think the one episode that like I really struggled with that personally this season was the Eye of the Afridi, where we did the City of Brass heist.
Yeah,
because
like
that was me dragging you into that, kicking and screaming on purpose to make me unhappy.
Yeah. That it's the one thing we've done that I think Dani genuinely would not have wanted to do, and if we were not playing a podcast, I don't know that I would have made, like, if we were not doing this in a format where it's less fun to not be the player playing, but also like we're telling a story and it's better that its characters participate in order to have character growth and interactions later on. I don't know, like in a home game, if that might have been a scenario where like Dani just would not have done that mission. But yeah, that's the only episode where I genuinely think like she doesn't want to be doing this as in the big abstract, this adventuring thing, and not like, I got goop on my boots, I don't want to be doing this at this exact second, but I'm still in as an adventurer,
Well, that was Finbar's fault, and he's gone now, so we're good.
His just desserts.
Yeah, just desserts.
Yeah. But we got another question from the chat.
Yeah, go on.
Oh no, please, what were you gonna say?
No, go on.
All right.
I was gonna say what I wrote down here is Dani needs to refuse the call, which is the thing you said to me, and then I said, isn't refusing the call the thing you do at the start of the story before the adventure begins?
My knowledge.
Yeah, that's why your home village gets burned down.
Yeah, that's when you say I can't go. I have to.
You can't burn down my home village because it's already on fire.
I was going to go to the Tashi station. Frankly, you're very lucky that Otto survived the "we need to motivate Dani" season.
It was too easy and clean to kill him. Are you kidding?
I was like internally taking bets on like, is he gonna make it?
That can still happen. We can still make that happen.
We can still make that happen.
No.
We've been over this. We're not killing Otto anymore.
The biggest threat to Otto is the other characters and players. Dani has never been on team let's kill Otto, and I don't think it would have been beneficial to kill him for no reason. For something external to have come and done it would have been one thing. Well, you say that, but...
Okay.
No, but like, if a bad guy kills him and we're like, oh no, he'll be missed. Anyway, it would have made a lot of things easier.
Yeah, but that's the classic, like, Darth Vader kills the Emperor, then dies, and then you're like, well, he was irredeemable, but he got redeemed and he dies. Like,
It saves you all the awkward cleanup and having to face Princess Leia and, all the other complicated shit.
Exactly.
But we'll take another question from chat. This one comes from Gordon Lee. To all, now that Create Spelljammer is on the table, what would each crew's personal spelljamming shuttle look like?
Ooh.
Oh, that's Virla. You guys already know Virla's is the Paraspora. Answer done.
Easy.
Yeah.
You know that thing that Jim Hawkins has in Treasure Planet?
Like the solar sailor
Ooh,
thing?
yeah.
Like
Yeah, the little
skiff thing?
solar skateboard.
Hell yeah.
Dibs.
I think it's just...
Sorry, Dani.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's just the Hell Ride, but it just flies for some reason.
I mean, it could. Oh, like Lobo's bike?
Kinda, yeah.
Ooh, yes. Oh my god,
Man,
yeah.
man.
Okay, Vhas would strap it to the back of a red dragon, fly that around.
It's just a saddle, basically. The saddle is
Yeah.
the Spelljammer.
That's it. That's it. And Finbar would try to put a restaurant out in the Astral Sea. You know, have it.
You're kind of
Damn,
just doing
in
a
and out
One
of
Piece
different
thing
planes.
there.
The restaurant at the end of the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
I was imagining that one Phineas and Ferb episode where they're like on a road trip back home, so they create a diner that's on a truck so that other trucks can like travel
Yeah.
up to the diner while it's still moving. Oh man.
We got another question from chat from Music Enthusiast 135. Wally, Finbar was obviously a fantastic chef, but Vhas is a very different character. What happens if Vhas tries to cook?
Ooh.
You know what?
Making baby. That's what we learned.
Oh.
I have no idea. I mean, we can find out next season. We'll see. Well,
You
I
play
have no
Xbox
like.
with your-
What is he cooking? What is he cooking with? You
Well, he
know?
tried to make cereal that one time, and it seemed to go poorly, so...
He was trying his best. Okay. He has the spirit. Okay. I don't know if he has the talent and or patience to actually cook.
He's a
anything,
little
so we'll see.
confused, but he's got the spirit.
Exactly.
We have a state-of-the-art kitchen. It's gonna go to fucking shit.
And a garden that no one
Yeah, he
knows how
wakes
to
up
maintain.
awkwardly early. Nobody's there to stop him. He just tears up the kitchen.
Does Kyana leave the kitchen a huge mess? Like, is it just gonna be a disaster? Is she the kind of person who cleans up after, or is she just gonna like it's just gonna slowly go to hell as she keeps making like protein shakes?
I don't think Kyana cooks. I think she blends things.
Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah.
Did you guys ever like play kitchen like in the backyard and you just put like random things in like
yeah.
a bowl?
Yeah.
Well, of course, it was in kitchen. We were like, I was like making
water,
potions and shit,
and-
with, like
Yeah, of
sticks and
course we were
grass.
making
I played
You know?
Rita's
Yeah.
Glitter Ice.
It's like that. I'd imagine like that's Vhas's cooking. He doesn't know how things go or how things. Yeah, he burns water exactly.
Yeah, I think
So
we're
things
all
like that.
ignoring that
next
the
Weird
kitchen...
Little Dudes one shot. The Weird Little Dudes deal with whatever monstrosity Vhas accidentally brought to life in the back of the fridge.
Yeah, we create some sort of like animated mold
I'll
monster.
write it down.
Yay.
Yep.
And we're also ignoring that the kitchen is directly next to the engine room, and so eventually, if no one stops her, Dani is just going to start leaving more and more wrenches and whatnot in the kitchen because it just expands outward as an infinite mess.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a question from the email. This one comes from Celavora. Hi, love the pod and hope that you have as much fun making it as I have listening to it. We do indeed. And
Yay.
since I will go on holiday for a few weeks, here's my question. Where in the Planescape would you, the players, want to go on holiday? And where on our little blue ball would your characters want to go on holiday? So
Ooh.
where
Pull
would
up the
your
map real quick.
characters want to go in the Planescape? Or no, where would you, the person, want to go in the Planescape? And where would your characters want to go on the planet Earth?
All right, let me just pull up the world map. Remind myself of everything.
I have an answer for where I would like to go. I'd like to travel to Mechanus. That shit just sounds cool, like aesthetically, like yeah. But I don't know where Virla would want to go. I gotta think on that a bit.
I'm curious about Arborea, but the version of it I drew is so pretty, I just want to go there.
I want to go to Sigil. I'm a city slicker.
Ooh.
I like the idea of doing a little like pub crawl in the city of doors.
Oh,
I would
hell
say
yeah.
the
That's
city
pretty
of
nice.
brass, but I don't want to be set on fire, and I like cold weather more than hot. So I think maybe for me, the actual person, Sigil's the safer bet.
Yeah, it's fair.
I think I'd go to the Feywild because come on, it sounds like a great place. They throw great parties there. Fuck it, I'll make a bad deal with a Fey just to see how it goes.
Stick
Just
around.
one, you know.
I think Dani would want to go to that island in Greece that has more like cats than people. Like it is just sort of like a cat sanctuary, both for the way that Plug could make friends. It's like a vacation for him, and also proximity to volcanoes.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Down.
Did you guys hear about that big like sinkhole cave with an entire ancient forest in it they found in China a few years back?
Oh yeah,
What?
No.
that sinkhole
Yeah, I
cave.
think
We've
Yana
all
wants
heard
to
of
go
it.
there.
That sounds
one.
awesome.
Reminds Kyana of home?
I think it's more like, wow, caves can be pretty. That's weird.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
you know, a nice hiking expedition, very pretty location.
Yeah, very cool.
Vera.
Yeah, fuck it. Virla would go to Germany. He'd like to see that German engineering. Or like Swiss watchmakers or something.
Okay, yeah.
What about Vhas and or Finbar?
Vhas would follow Virla just to be an annoying tourist.
I love this. I love this concept.
Just like in the background, photo bombing. If Virla goes to a restaurant, Vhas gets a table across from him, orders twice as much food. Yeah. And as for Finbar, he'd go down south, probably like down south, U.S. So I guess Louisiana.
I was gonna say
New Orleans, Cajun food. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
That's more his haunt. Yeah.
I'm always hungry after we live stream.
Sorry.
Oh, we should order some tiramisu. Let me just.
That's what happens when you make a chef character. You make everybody hungry.
Yeah.
Yum. Okay. I'm so tired. Yeah, let's take another one from the email here. Hi, I absolutely love the podcast and have a question for the Q&A relating to the finale episode. What would have happened if Virla had submitted for memory modification? Austin said it would have gone after Dani, but how much of their memory would be gone? Just the memory of the spell itself?
Yeah, all memory. That would have from knowing what the spell was up until now would have erased it to make it so that I didn't remember anything about the finding the lost spell. And for people were asking like why they didn't come after the mind flayers at all, and the reason is the mind flayers didn't like learn about it. Like they don't realize they're doing it, so there's no knowledge there to eradicate. Very specifically, the creation of the knowledge of the spell, like bringing it back into existence, is what the inevitable was trying to stop. And the mind flayers are doing it with like biology, basically, because their spelljammer is alive, it's reproducing, so they don't realize they're doing it.
So if they had like nautiloid sex ed, that's when they would start getting.
Yes, yeah. Like someone really like got their elbows up in it, and they were like, "What's going on down here?"
What does that mean that
I
we've been
said
doing
it, but
then?
why would you
Wait,
phrase
shit.
it like that?
Gross.
You guys got your hands up to your elbows. So you figured out what was going on.
Gross.
Roll a nat 20 or whatever. Or a 32
I don't like
or
when that
whatever it was.
suggests what me and Dani did.
I don't
but-
like when Austin
No.
doesn't tell me things, but I also don't like when Austin tells me things, and I'm reaching sort of an impact.
At this point, you just can't win.
We'll take another question from chat. This one from Candy Bar. What was everyone's favorite combat this season? We definitely saw lots of epic battles and combats.
Oh man, someone's
That's
gonna
a
need to
great
remind
one.
me. Not one of the ones I was paralyzed for. Other
Yeah,
than that,
that was tough. I do retroactively feel pretty bad that Kyana keeps getting, but she's such a threat now.
I rolled
It's-
like
well, you
shit.
guys
It
really
wasn't
are
your
like a
fault.
threat. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the stunning one was not. Yes, correct, was not my fault. The placing you in a bubble was a little bit.
That
but
one was
also,
very funny though.
You're so
Yeah.
devastating that like the Elder Brain has to stop you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm okay with being warped at this point. I think it's flattering, but it wasn't one of the fights where I was paralyzed for. I'll tell you that.
Let's see, you guys fought the Abishai in the Skies of Hell. That was the very first. That was in the second episode. It was the very
Right,
first
yeah.
one.
Oh, with the flying and the yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was no combat in the heist episode from the Afridi, I don't
No.
think.
Yeah, we were
Thank
just really
goodness.
fast.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
There was
internal turmoil,
fighting
but
Endelian during the race.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that
That was
beat
pretty
down.
fun.
Go, that
but I
was
felt bad
so
about
much
it.
fun. Nope.
Yeah,
I think
He had it
I think
coming.
specifically I liked the juxtaposition of the rest of us fighting Endelian while Dani and Roy were racing, because there was also
Yeah.
that slod thing near the end that Dani had to deal with.
That's
Had
true.
to
There was
make a
also combat in there.
heartbreaking choice.
if we ever had like an actual TV show made from the series, just cutting back between the race and us giving
yeah.
Endelion a beatdown,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
Really
you do
good.
some cool
Love that.
wipes with like jumping on the bike, and it would wipe to like Kyana doing a punch. You know, it'd be good
A lot
stuff.
of match cuts.
A lot of
think.
match
Yeah.
cuts.
Yep.
It's like, you know
Yep.
how the Castlevania season 3 finale intercuts like 2 different sex scenes with 2 different fight scenes, and there's a lot of like match cuts of like
Yeah.
Sypha just slammed a big ice spike into something, and meanwhile something else is getting slammed elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
like that,
picturing
only
the
those fights.
the many wipes of Speed Racer, but that works too.
Okay.
Ooh. Oh.
I was thinking about Sense8. They did that in Sense8 as well.
Oh,
well, that's
God.
also the
Oh, yeah,
Wachowskis,
no,
so that
oh.
makes that's just the
Yep.
Wachowskis look at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. You guys had
Wait, the fungi
Danny had
queen?
to fight the Mezzalots to get the cake.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
my
that was
favorite
good,
combat
too.
of the season.
Cake,
Hands
cake.
down, that
Kyana
one
had
was
to
my
fight the
favorite.
Quicklings.
Not my favorite fight.
Oh, that was my favorite because we
That
got to
was
make
pretty
all those
fun.
Sonic jokes and Roadrunner jokes.
I did like
Yeah.
the Sonic and the Roadrunner joke.
And then the back half of the season is where it picks up. You got the Lycan
Yeah.
Blood fight.
Mhm.
You've got the
first Nautiloid fight, the second
Nautiloid
Nautiloid fight.
Yeah, the Jewel, the
Yeah.
Guardian at the gate, the basement. Then you guys escape. Then you go back. You fight the Kraken and the Elder
Mhm.
Brain. And
Playing the
then-
B team for a little bit was really fun. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Or
that
BTP.
was.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the B team fight. I think I
Yeah.
liked the Lycan Bride fight a lot.
There was a lot going on for that fight. It was a fun one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sticking with Dumb and Dumber. I think that chasing them with the cake was just such. I didn't get a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of chances to be like chill this season. There was a certain zen to not having a pretty relatively low stakes fight, and also it's fun to make
Yeah.
make fun of them and be on the bike. Neat. All right, we'll take another question from chat. This
Next
one comes
question.
from Zealous Doggo.
Chat's
Question
going
for
bananas
Austin:
over
Is
that.
Amun the Ancient still around? Given he was mentioned to be a mummy lord, I need to know if he is safe.
That's an excellent question. And the answer is no, he's not safe because while technically by stat block, I think that he does have some sort of like regeneration. The whole point of that was to make a decision with consequences. So imagine him as greater than a normal mummy, but not as powerful as a mummy lord. He was destroyed in that fight.
Aw.
R.I.P. to a true legend. Just gives the saddest hee-haw and tips the hat. We'll take another.
If Amun were to come back, would Dani give the hat back?
No.
Ooh, good question.
Well, there you go.
Nope. I won it in honorable combat. I believe it was the terms of the race. It's not my fault he got killed by a bunch of slides.
It really wasn't.
Everyone else in the
Again,
race
it was so
also
interesting.
died.
That was not
Had
the
to make a
transaction,
call.
Amun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. They kind of. Oh, this is a very dark episode.
Danny won and was the only survivor.
Yes. So that's
It's the
why.
most efficient way to win, baby.
One by
And
default.
it wasn't my fault necessarily. I just was speedier.
If you'd brought another PC, maybe they would have stood a chance.
But then you guys would have had to fight Endelion 2-on-1 and keep Roy from being
And that would
killed
have
by
been interesting.
Endelion.
Yeah, it was interesting choices. And Delian
God
went out
forbid we
kind
don't
of
just
like a
curb
punk.
stomp him. Yeah.
Yeah, and Delian kind of went out like a punk, but alternatively, Dani had to make that really hard decision because Roy was in the fight. You know, I think Dani would have been way more reckless if she was riding with Virla or Kyana.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine a world in which she takes Finbar of all people with her, but you know.
I would have
Also, you-
liked jumping off of moving bikes onto other moving bikes.
Also, you know that Endelion would have like eyed down Roy and then gone for him immediately
yeah.
first, just to be like, yeah, fuck you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kill this weakling.
We couldn't have just left Roy in the stands cheering us on, safely out of combat.
What if I told you guys Finbar was still holding back in that combat? If Finbar went all offense every single round, it's actually kind of scary. Just let you
Yeah.
guys know.
I
That
believe
is,
you.
Yeah. But we're gonna take another question from the chat. This one comes from Mars MC. Question for Austin: How far into their relationship are Cressida and Roy?
Guys.
They're not in a relationship. They've hooked up and they're like tentatively feeling out if that's a thing that could happen again. But the last time they saw each other, Cressida had just died via brain parasite and been resurrected. And Roy was still pretty drunk. So
Yeah, they're not in a relationship. We're just shipping them, guys. It's
yeah,
different.
that's different. I mean, could there be? Maybe something's there. But you know, well, so that all depends on if Cressida can like get her shit together.
Yeah.
Roy's very secure in himself. In
People
his
are
place
always
in
like,
the
Cressida's the only
universe.
one who's been to therapy. I'm like, she's not been to therapy.
Oh,
guys.
you think the drow from
Cressida's-
Menzo Baranzan has been to therapy?
Cressida's not having a great time of it in general.
She's like Dani, where she's just compartmentalizing anything and not really like addressing it.
Well, it's
She needs a vacation.
The mental state
Hey.
of Cressida is, I have done so many bad things in my life. It's kind of pointless for me to try to do good. So why not just do less bad things, right? And that's not really a good mind state to be in. That you shouldn't think that, but that's basically her how she feels about things. So
Oh man, I love her.
yeah, me too.
It was fun to get to see more of the NPCs this season. Like, we usually get at least like a
Yeah.
Maxim cameo or something, or like Roy and Otto will show up for an episode. But this was really in addition to kind of being the Dani season, it was kind of the NPC season, just based on the wedding guest list and the like NPC B team fight and all that fun stuff. That was a real treat as a player to get to like kind of see play out.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take another
Chat has
question.
gotta stop talking about Roy body pillows.
Oh
Guys?
man.
I mean, does Redbubble do those? I know they don't do the pins.
Nope,
But...
and we're not going to talk
We
about
got-
it no more.
We got an email one time from like a Daikamoda distributor that was like, "Hello, we would be interested in sponsoring a video," and we were like, "Maybe we'll just leave this one on red."
Oh my goodness.
Alrighty. We'll take another question from chat here. My chat just refreshed. Should give me 2 seconds to do a little scrolling and
Distract them,
Really,
buy her some
really
time.
quickly, as for Roy's mental state, like obviously Roy has like bad things in his life, but he's like pretty balanced about it. Like he understands what's bad, and like he also has room in his life for good things and good relationships. So it's very different for being existentially dooming yourself.
Roy has been to therapy.
Roy has been, yeah. I mean that's what Sadie and Marnie are basically for.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Aw.
In my mind, Roy had like more of a stable like childhood than Dan. Like of the like kind of like 3 mechanic-y street kids who ended up working at the Heap, Egan, Roy, and Dani. I imagine that like Dani probably had the most ambiguous, I've just been on the streets my whole life, everything sucks life prior to the Heap, and then Roy and Egan had at least some family or friend connection that even if they were living it pretty low, they were still in the slightest increment more supported. So I think it makes a little sense that Roy might have his shit a little bit together at this point compared to like Cressida and Dani and everyone.
Yeah.
But we'll take a question from chat. Guard 3boy to Sophia. Will Dani ever get a feat like the gunner or sharpshooter feats, which let her ignore disadvantage for enemies that are within 5 feet and ranged attacks respectively? Possibly, if we make it high enough to get another feat or ASI. I wanted to get my intelligence up to 20 so that I could get bonuses to everything more at this last level up.
Oh,
than-
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, so
Smartest
I
there is.
went with that. But those feats are both great options and ones that I have considered in the past. So possibly if we get to what is it, level 16, I think is the next feat ASI.
Yeah.
16, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
4 more levels.
I don't think
I wouldn't
Maybe.
hold your breath on that one.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Anything can happen.
We're
if
just
you
gonna
believe.
keep grinding Marut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will do
You
anything.
guys take down
to
a few
avoid
more
it.
of those, you'll get to 16.
Yeah, there you
Like,
go.
couple
Great. We need
custom
more laws to break.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, Virila's on it. Let's go.
Virla flips over another conspiracy board, and it's just all of the like. It's one of those like 101 weird laws you didn't know existed, like you can't chew gum in like Baltimore or something, and like you just we just go across the Planescape for an episode, breaking them all and fighting inevitables.
The benefit of being someone from Mechanus and also a chosen of Mystra is that he's in a unique position to figure out like how to best piss off very, very influential people.
I could tell
One
you
of
what
these
the other
days,
the
we're
other
gonna fuck up, and
inevitables-
the Lady of Pain is gonna hate it.
What do you mean one of these days? It's done.
yes.
We did it.
No more. I'm excited
Oh.
for it.
I can tell you what the other inevitables enforce. The Marut hunts down those who deny/cheat death. The Korok protects the space-time continuum. The Varakut prevents creatures usurping the power of the gods, and the Zelikut hunts down those who have escaped justice.
Oh, great! So we just have to become
So
immortal.
You just have
and
to
we're
do one
all
of
set.
those.
All right, so Virila, Virla can make the argument that he escaped death, but he can do so a bit more deliberately next time. And he'll just do a Karsus, and
There you go.
it's just powered.
You know, just one of those.
Just
How hard
Yeah.
would it be?
Easy.
We'll take another question from chat. This one from Hannah Karen. Wally, what was Finbar's starting class? I've been dying to know. So we met him. He was already a multi-class. What was the first thing he got a level in?
I think he was a ranger first. He was a ranger all the way up to level 4. He became a druid at level 5. When he got yeeted out into the astral sea, and he became a druid in an attempt to reconnect with nature. And the only thing that answered back at him was the stars, so he became a stars druid at level 6.
Wow.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. It's pretty straightforward.
Nice. All right. From Spaced Panini, will Catriona just keep popping up in inconvenient places to bother the crew? Parentheses, Virla.
We can only hope.
I hope so.
We can only hope. I like Catriona. How much should I say? Should I say anything more about Catriona? I don't.
I don't know.
That's up to
Is she
you,
gonna keep
man.
popping up?
There's a fan theory that she is just Mistra.
No.
She is
Wrong
not
personality.
She is not Mistra. She is not Mistra.
Is she a time traveler?
How would your character know that?
Okay, all right, there we go.
She is not a time traveler. I think that there's like, I forget exactly what I said about her. There's like a little more going on under the surface there, but she is not like she's not like a god trying to fuck with them or anything. She's mostly on being honest about what she says her goals are.
Yeah, I view her as
She's
like
trying
a
to write some
Blaine type
coattails.
character.
She's trying to write some
Yeah.
coattails. Is what she's trying
You're
to
her
do.
next big break, guys. This
Yeah,
is a Lois
yeah,
Lane
yeah.
situation.
She's Lois
She's-
Lane.
Yeah, she's trying to write like the next epic of heroes, and she thinks Viral is a pretty good candidate.
She's also trying to figure out if like the nerdy bespectacled journalist next to him is actually Virla. Next to her is actually
Yeah.
Virla in disguise.
We've never seen them in the same place, so
Yeah.
Cool.
Clark Plent.
Right.
Well,
Next
this
question.
question comes from Guard 3Boy. For Austin, what version of the Astral Sea do you use? Most descriptions or depictions I've found show it to be a large expanse similar to space.
Yes. So I stole my version from. I stole the notion of it being an actual ocean from.
the notion of the
from-
ocean and the sun.
from
and
the
sky.
notion of the ocean.
I
Inspiration.
Yay!
Don't
Aw.
write that down.
Okay.
Why is it like it's? I stole the notion of it being an actual sea from a Matt Colville live stream, a live campaign, actual play. That's what I'm looking for, because I really liked that idea of it literally being sailing.
Yeah.
Why did I not choose the space one? There are reasons for that. Maybe we'll find them out.
Oh.
Oh,
What?
love
I'm
that's
that.
fair.
guessing that the
Says
space one is
thing.
Why
another
does
one of the
That's
universes
fair.
of
It's like,
Planescape to distinguish.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't leave us on that.
He likes to do his little
I
things.
can
little
see
jokes.
Eberron's Planescape being space.
Or maybe the space between the planescapes is space. You know, there's tons of ways.
Yeah.
Sorry, any of these could be true, or none of them.
It's all space.
I feel like in general, Red, you're pretty good at like guessing. I don't know if it's because I don't know what exactly it is that puts us on similar wavelength. Maybe I just like, you obviously you know stories pretty well, and I just like kind of steal obviously from them. Or it is the chain. Yes, correct, the chain of background. Or maybe it's just that we have similar like storytelling what's the word for storytelling like instincts or something like that. But I do find that you tend to guess my stuff pretty consistently, which is good for Kyana having like access to Kyana basically has the power of trope knowledge.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
genre savvy.
Yeah.
She's not book
She's
smart
genre
or
savvy,
street
yeah,
smart,
yeah,
but
yeah.
she's genre smart.
She's kind of genre savvy.
Mhm.
Like
That's
I
that
always
high
think
wisdom
back to
for
that
you.
first thing with Otto, where she was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a great honor, isn't it?" And that's your power shining through her.
Thanks.
So.
I
Yeah.
try and
And
compartmentalize the metagaming whenever I can, because it's fun for me, but it's not always fun for everyone around me.
In addition to woodworking, Kyana also absorbed a lot of like Sigil soap operas.
Yeah, one of the priors just always had some trashy like
romance novel
yeah,
or some shit.
like
yeah.
they'd always be watching it on like one of the crystal balls whenever I was up too late for no reason. So I'd like hear it through the wall, just be like, "Oh, it's gonna be his like secret evil twin, isn't it? Come on, man."
Yeah, just over the shoulder, the prior, just
Yeah.
like Demetrius and Sandra are siblings.
Ugh, gross. I like to play it as that's what the insight checks are. It's like cut straight through the pretenses of the genre. Figure out what's going on.
Yeah. We'll
Pretty
take
good.
another question from the chat from Greg Brewer. What would each character do if they retired from adventuring? So Finbar has settled down to
Die,
open a
probably.
restaurant.
Some people don't get out
Tiana's
of
in this for
game,
the
man.
long haul, baby.
Yeah, I don't think there's a world where
Yeah.
like Dani really retires, but I do think it's funny to have her do like an old Toph situation and like just go hang out in Acheron or something and like hole up and just tinker with little mech creations. I could see
Oh,
that
God.
being like the bad ending.
Yeah.
I think a while ago, it might have been on another Q&A. Like we had offered the suggestion of like Dani modifying the Paraspora so that it becomes like a Valerian in the fucking
Yeah.
City of a Thousand Planets type shit, where it's just like this giant spell jammer that's basically like a one-stop shop for any other like spell jammers like to stop at, and Dani's just in charge of it all.
God, I wish that movie was better.
Yeah. Yeah, I also have to kind of suspend my disbelief because Virla said that he died on the ship once, and the next time he'll die, it'll be on the ship, and so he's sticking to that. But
And I'm trying to make that dream happen as hard as I can.
thank you.
Stop it.
I
Yep.
really appreciate that, Austin. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
God damn it. While we're talking about shit movies, in Mortal Engines, there's that bit where like
Oh,
that sky
God.
pirate lady starts talking randomly about like, man, I just sure hope that if I die, it'll be like in the sky or something. And I'm like, God damn it. I knew she was too good to last. And then at the end, she like falls into this beautiful cloud lightning explosion thingy. And it's like, oh, see, she dies in the sky, even though not really. Wow, it's so cool. And as soon as any character starts talking about like, I think death would be okay if it came for me in this form, it's like, stop that. Stop talking like that.
Yeah.
Voss, what about
I
you? What are
like
you doing when you
her-
retire?
Riding dragons.
Voss?
Wally.
Well, it's dead to us. There we go.
What? What was the question? I'm sorry.
What would Voss do when he retires?
Vhas doesn't retire.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
We're all doing this forever.
Till we die.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
so
though-
few of them are Elises who do it for a little while and then they go,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think if I was to take the question at face value, Virla would most likely like try and keep himself in the world of adventuring, probably as like a contact or a resource, basically a healthier Maxim.
Difficult.
That's a very low bar.
Yeah.
Maxim, but he goes on stupid mental health walks once a week.
Stupid mental health. Well, stupid mentally healthing my health mental.
Stupid mental health walk. Stupid mental health walk.
We'll take a.
He would just throw himself into building like a small park in his lair and be like, "This is enough. I don't need to go outside."
It's more, I already know what's outside. Why would I need to go
His
outside?
lair.
Sorry, Sophia, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna take another question, but if you guys want to keep vamping, go ahead.
Oh, please.
We got a question from Serial and Wooder. How old are each of the characters, and when are their birthdays?
Ooh.
We all
Right,
have
they all
the
have the
same
same
birthday,
birthday.
except for Voss, who might have a
Yeah.
different one.
I don't think he knows his birthday, to be completely
Hey.
That's not the sentimental stuff that like the gift don't really care about that shit.
Yeah, I don't think I have his age written down somewhere, but I don't think he has like a birthday.
No
Hold on.
parents gang.
Definitely no parents. This man hatched out of his egg sickly and was just like, this is fine. This is my life now. He
I'm good. I'm
is
chill. I'm mentally healthy.
30. Exactly 30.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, Danny's like 22,
Kiana
started the series at,
23-ish. Yeah, we started
I
at
mean,
like...
give or take. Yeah.
Yeah. Danny
I
doesn't
think
know
Kiana
exactly.
started at like 19, so she's probably like 21 now, something like that.
Yeah, it's been like, what, 2 years?
At some point, we figured out how long the campaign had been going on for. In fact, I think Noir and I got close to figuring out like the date everything happened because we were like, oh, we can anchor it to the the Elemental Plane of Air New Year. That is
So-
the season 2, episode 2. But that's a thing I made up, so actually we can't.
The reason why I did that, for those who are a patron or subscribe to our Patreon, I put out a story that was basically like a log entry that Virla would give to Docent during that 8th month downtime. And the log entry number follows the same numbering dating scheme as the Magnus Archive. So I was like, well, now I gotta know like, where we're at.
On episode 1 to be a bonkers way to do that. Like John is like, this is a really bad order to put your numbers in.
Yeah. But I guess if I continue down that line, we probably could figure out the exact day that they were that like they celebrated that birthday. I don't know how old Viral is too.
That's the thing. I don't think Dani really knows how old she is. She's about 22, 23, but like much like Virla, kind of doesn't really know when shit started, so it's just sort of a vague guess based on how tall and grown up she is.
I imagine it's also a thing people on the Astral Sea don't really like. You stop aging on the Astral Sea, so it ends up becoming kind of pedantic and moot.
Someday she's gonna just randomly be like, my back hurts. Ah, shit, I'm 30, and then we'll
That's
all know.
me as a 25-year-old, so I don't know if she would actually need to be 30 for that to happen.
We're adventurers. We live active lifestyles. That keeps us healthier for longer, right?
I mean, to be fair,
Fitness culture wouldn't lie to me.
To be fair, like Vhas didn't really spend a lot of time on the Astral Sea. Like he spent majority of all of his life on Ysgard, and then he got yeeted off, and he ended up in Tunarith, and he was there for only a couple months, right, Austin?
I have to go back and check my notes to say 100% certain, so like don't catch me out on a screwing something up, but I'm pretty sure correct that he wasn't really there that long. In my mind, it was something like less than a year. Like he'd been there a while, but it wasn't like crazy. He wasn't trapped there nearly as long as the rest of the crew.
Yeah. So I mean, compared to like the rest of the crew, Vhas has not spent like a lot of time actually going out all of the planes and experiencing most of his life on the Astral Sea. So he's fairly new to all of that, really. So
yeah. Well, we'll mix it up and take a question from the email. This comes from James. What bothers me most about the messy conversation Dani had with the crew is that she ultimately asked permission to become captain despite Otto's advice. How do the players feel about that conversation? With more time to think on it, do any players wish they approached it differently? I truly appreciate what y'all are doing. Yours is the only actual play I've stuck with. I assume it's paced helped by the amazing editing. Thank you. And Austin's an amazing DM and has probably moved my expectations for what a campaign should be too high. I'm looking forward to season 5 and seeing who else joins the Per Aspera for adventure. Well, thank you for the kind words at the end of there. And kind of just talking a little bit here about the big heart-to-heart, like 1 hour long conversation in episode was
Red, I believe you heard it being described as a log jam. That
Yeah. my dad listens to this podcast and will regularly like text me like, I got through this episode, I liked this part, or this was an interesting decision. And in that one he was like, I appreciated you breaking through that log jam of a conversation in episode 8. And I was like, oh my god. So
which that is, there's some character stuff going on there, but I've been at the table that's been a Noir and a Sophia logjam before. I read the first or second one shot I ever ran was in the Humblewood, and you guys were playing like bird characters.
I was
and you guys spent a long time of that like 4-hour session discussing whether Noir's character was mean or not. And you just kept going fast.
Oh god.
I don't remember that.
You're just like a snide wizard, and you guys just kept going back and forth.
The problem is, like, this is the thing I run into all the time when I'm writing, because it's like, if I just turn the characters loose, they can have conversations in circles forever, and I will be endlessly entertained. But that doesn't necessarily advance the plot or, like, make fun stuff happen. So I have to be like, all right, there's, like, a few different things they could say here, but I want them to say the thing that is more interesting and loops back to the plot instead of philosophical musings on shit. But, you know, when you're at the table and everyone's sort of playing their own character, it's like, well, I know where I want the conversation to go, but I don't have the top-down view of where it needs to go. So,
yeah, I think the thing I struggled with in that conversation, because I don't think it went, like, perfectly from a role-playing standpoint. I think we all did the best we could, and it ended up being an entertaining piece of confusion nonetheless. But, like, I don't think that Dani ever really had it in her mind that she's like, oh, what I want right now is to become captain, so I should just come out and say that. But that's what Virla needed to hear. And so we just sort of hit a wall in a hard place of, okay, we both kind of need the DM prompting here to move past this little bump and continue on. But yeah, I think the log jam is an accurate term to describe it all.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, the from Virla's perspective, at no point did he ever consider that this iteration of the Paraspora would get a captain, because being captain is a fate he would like to wish upon nobody. But if there was to be, he figured that it would be him because he was the only one he was willing to have of the crew accept that burden. Like, that's how he views the captaincy as. But then also, and so then the entire time that he's been with this crew, he's figured, all right, so it's just gonna be a democratic vote every time, and it's just what it's gonna be going forward. Not once did it sort of come to him to think that maybe like the benefit of having a captain is that like someone can take and synthesize all of the arguments and the suggestions and, you know, catalyze the crew to doing like one certain thing at that moment right now. And that's why he was so stuck on like making sure that Dani had a voice, because in the context of everyone gets a democratic vote, if 3 out of 4 people always kept wanting to do a thing that the 4th person didn't want to, then you know, that wouldn't be fair to Dani. And that's why he was also like, you know, we were selfish. It feels like it's only right if we allowed you to be selfish like for this as well, and then we can kind of like start fresh, so to speak, and try and like figure out what to do going forward.
I will say, if it helps, the impression I got was not that Dani asked for permission to be captain. I think it was more like, oh shit, she's been captain the whole time, which
yeah.
I liked. I think that was very in character for all of us. Like, oh wait, yeah, who does make final decision and actually get our shit together and make the plans and stuff? Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And once that got through to Virla, he was like, there's no one else that I would want.
Aww.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I really thought
It was
that we were
either that
gonna.
or- yeah.
I really thought that episode was gonna, because obviously, like, you never know how we don't script these things, so we don't really know how they're gonna play out. But in my mind, I'm like, oh well, what's gonna happen is we're gonna bamf Kyana away, and then we'll all go follow her, and then we're gonna have some sort of like angry confrontation because we didn't let her go punch something, and then Dani can be like, oh, you guys keep saying you want me to be captain. Well, this is what me being captain looks like. Sometimes I'm gonna make the call you don't agree with, and then it would have been the thing. I think this was a better iteration of it where we all got to do a little bit more and like have a bit more of a heart to heart in some ways. I think there's more conversation to be had for sure, but it's the start of the ball rolling, and so it played out how it played out.
Yeah.
I know that was the topic of hot conversation for an episode, both in character and out. So thank you all for listening along to an episode of log jamming.
New band name.
The log jam.
Pretty good.
The log jam.
It's just dissonant music the entire way down.
It just breaks down into like an argument between the band members halfway through. Dude, I wanted to be the vocalist.
I said 3/4, not 4/4. Why is this 5/4?
Music.
And then the bass player just
thanks
improvises behind all of that.
Yeah, another question. Let's go.
Yeah,
there are so many questions. I can't believe.
Yeah, we got a ton of questions coming along. We got one from someone asking opinions on released Planescape and Sigil stuff from Wizards of the Coast. There's interesting things about faction war, factions, and Under Sigil. Will the crew visit Under Sigil? Also ever heard of Large Luigi? Oh boy.
Oh god. So I wanted to do faction stuff with the Searing Tongue, and a lot of that stuff is tough to find online. And I didn't have the books, so I was just like, fuck it, I'll make stuff up. And I came up with the concept of the Searing Tongue. The factions are gone, and now Wizards is sort of revamping that entire thing and giving us actual updated content. And I'm just like, well, where was this like 2 years ago? Because this would have been great for fleshing out exactly how the Searing Tongue works. So I'm a little mad and upset and excited. At least we're getting some content, and hopefully it doesn't suck. So
I mean, if I were in Austin's position, I would like to have had the freedom to like kind of take this interpretation from second edition and kind of reform it. I think the angle that you had of modern factions being like spiritual successors to the second edition factions was a very smart decision, because you can still find those through lines, but you're not necessarily beholden to that lore. So
I'm method acting by doing absolutely no research on 5e.
I'm choosing to take a mental health break after editing 10 4-hour episodes by not consuming any other D&D, Planescape, or Spelljammer media unless somehow I can get my hands on a functional copy of Baldur's Gate 3 in the next like couple months.
Perfect.
yeah.
I mean, Tony Lizzie art. I like Planescape. I've pre-ordered the alternate cover box set already, because I really couldn't help myself. Opinions on it? I mean, like, it's not out yet, so I don't really know. I know that's kind of a cop out, but like, it's all going to be execution. At the end of the day, I feel like, you know, give us good stuff. We'll see. Obviously, we weren't a fan of I did a whole rant, I think, on the Reddit that was about how bad Spelljammer was in like 16 different ways, ranging from like truly mind-boggling, like, bad human decisions to like, why did you design the game this way? This was terrible. So we'll see if it's any good. There's way better stuff coming out from other people, but I am excited to get more content, and hopefully it'll give some ideas. There's a lot of things that are different from theirs, from our setting, like the existence of the gate towns where you can walk to the other planes, which I got rid of because that makes the Proaspera way less special and interesting. But you know, I'm sure that there'll be some stuff from there that I want to steal. Also, someone asked, yes, miniature giant space hamsters do exist.
Fantastic. Good.
And giant space hamsters as well, I suppose.
Yes.
Would they
And
be sea hamsters? Would they be sea hamsters then, not space hamsters?
No, they're space. Don't do that.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And kind of a
This
related.
is like when they started adding elf subtypes. They were like, there are ocean elves, but you can't play them. They just exist. They're
Tritons.
You can now.
Triton.
Well, that's nice.
I love playing
I think it
Tritons,
was like
and I
they
have
can't
not had
breathe
opportunities
air,
to. I wanted to in the home game that we talk about all the time, but it was denied. And I played it half orc.
Yeah, that was going to be adventure. That was going to be book 2 if we ever finished that campaign. Was going to deal with the sea elves.
Ooh.
Well, it's kind of a follow-up question while we're talking about Planescape stuff from Asto to Austin. Any more Planescape NPC cameos that we should expect, a la Guildmaster Rhys?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know for sure. I would say that it wasn't a thing that I was super interested in to begin with. There's like a picture of Guildmaster Rhys in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, I believe.
I think that's.
And so I was like, oh, that seems fun. I'll put her in there because I like that picture. And then I wasn't really interested in like stealing any others. But I've kind of come around on that. That being said, I don't know how much more time we're gonna spend like in Sigil. Like, obviously things are happening, so I don't know how much more time we're going to be like meeting like a whole bunch of new important NPCs. There will definitely be some, but I feel like, you know, at a certain point, the characters are they've got momentum, the adventure is there, they know they know NPCs, like, we're good. So is it possible? Definitely. I'm not against it. Is it something that I'm like on my list of to-dos for season 5? No.
Yeah. Well, we'll take another question, this one from chat. Acai Sparrow asks, what would each character wear for Halloween? Is there a Planescape equivalent of Halloween? So your character has to put together a Halloween costume. What are they wearing? What are they going as?
Not that I know of is there an equivalent, but there might be something on a certain plane. Like, there's not a whole Planescape equivalent, but so many worlds have so many different traditions that there might be something out there.
That feels like a very Feywild thing to do, to be like, oh, we're going to dress up in a silly little costume and like do tricks.
Like scare the monsters
tricks
away.
and treats.
Yeah. More tricks than treats, though.
Yeah.
C3PO Virla.
I love that.
C3PO Virla with like R2D2 Emmy or like R2D2 Docent.
Plug or something.
Ooh.
That makes Finbar
Chewbacca.
yeah.
It's just gonna be a group costume.
I do think Dani does slot into Han Solo with Plug as
Yeah.
Kiana can be Luke Skywalker.
Okay, so
we
we've
go.
decided
We
we're
did
doing
it.
a group costume. We got the we can give Plug a little Princess Leia wig. So it's like two little like cans that are curled on the side of the head like a little headband.
That's hilarious.
Perfect. Yes.
I love it. All right, well that's an easy one to answer. I would like that fan art on my desk by Monday. This question also comes from chat from Core's Corner. For everyone, with the change in party dynamic this season, which role of the 5-man band do you think your character fits now? Previously, we had no leader.
Big guy.
I think Kyana might still be the heart. Or at least like is the heart like.
But I punch so good now.
You do.
I feel like Vhas has done a lot more to like try and catalyze the group and
Vhas is becoming the linchpin that
make
holds
them
us all
more
together.
cohesive. But also,
I
Vhas
love seeing Vhas in this party because for one,
so nervous to slot this man in. I poured over this character sheet making sure I got him right. I was so nervous.
You hit it out of the park, man. Like it's difficult to. I feel like it's especially in like a scenario where people are watching us to like find a member who feels new but also can mesh with the old group, but not in a way that feels contrived. And you found that balance because like he slots in perfectly and he fills a well-needed niche, which is kind of more like I guess a more aggressive Finbar in the sense that like Vhas just will tell you what the fuck like I guess this group needs. Yeah. And so
I'm so excited to help Vhas with his personal issues next season. He's done so much for us already.
Yeah. It's interesting to be the leader, a thing I was desperately trying to avoid in season 1 and have now accepted in season 4. Because I already produced the show, I didn't want to like steamroll everybody and be like, actually, I'm gonna be the leader now. But it is what Dani is. I didn't want to girl boss too hard, you know? I didn't want to.
The thing is, I still feel it's still a 4-person crew at the end of the day, so there's still gonna be like overlaps. Like, Dani's the leader, but Vhas is the lancer to Virla, if anything. Yeah.
I feel like Dani is both the leader and her own lancer. It's sort of my own worst enemy situation.
Yeah.
Dani's got a little red Dani on her shoulder. It's like we should set fire to more stuff.
It's a little red Dani. It's a little red Dani and a little blue Dani.
Yep, exactly.
That actually might
which
solve
one
it
is
then
good? Which one is bad? No, they're both Dani.
They're both Dani. You don't understand. It's the same person.
If Dani is the leader and the lancer, then that makes Virla the smart one, Vhas the heart, and Kyana the big guy.
There we go. We lost Austin. He jumped off of the Discord call, so I assume he'll be back.
Dead.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Shit, my phone fell over.
He's restarting, so we'll take non-Austin questions until he jumps back on.
Cats away, the mice shall play. All right, let's go.
This is a question for Finbar from the email, so this is good. How would Finbar react if he found out all the stuff that happened right after he left the crew?
Finbar would have the biggest headache. And he would probably be very happy that everybody's still around to tell him what happened. I think that's probably his first reaction after the shock. And then as long as then he'd just patiently sit down with a mug of coffee, listening to all the stories because you guys are all grown up, full-blown adventurers and everything. So yeah.
Okay. Real quick. Should Austin try and join from his phone? Because it looks like his computer is kind of locked in a boot loop right now.
If his only option is to join from his phone, then he certainly can try. But yeah, Red, if you could take over Discording that on the side, I will continue to pull some questions so we can keep the stream going until we get our beloved DM back. So chat, please excuse if Austin's audio is slightly worse. We are doing our best to ensure that everyone gets a chance to chat. Here. While you music enthusiast 135, while Austin's not here, can everyone do their best Austin impressions?
Oh God.
Hello everybody.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode.
Austin, and I'm joined by
I'm joined by my alliterative assholes abjectly adjudicating on awesome
Austin.
alphabet shit.
You know what he does? You know what he does
Adventures,
a lot?
adventures.
He'll ask like in episode 8, for instance. He'll ask like where's Red? Where's Kyana at? After every single one, he's like, fantastic. fantastic.
You're right. Yeah.
Also, this is a thing that I cut out a lot in editing, but Austin makes a lot of mouth sounds, like.
Oh God, yes.
Austin, we love you.
Like
Austin,
that?
we would love you. Just like
Our
you're gonna
beloved
listen to this. I
DM
know you are,
Austin.
but like,
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, and then also.
Oh, he
yeah.
does that.
Yeah, he
yes.
does
Oh, my
love it.
God.
He also picks up and puts down his mug very hard on the table. I know he says he uses a padded coaster, but frankly, I don't know how much
There
of
I
was
that
like
that
he
one
how we're
does.
all like,
yeah.
here are his personality traits, and you're like, here's another thing he does that makes my job
I
harder.
listen to all of the little noises you guys make every single episode for 4 hours, and then I listen to them again. We're getting a
All right,
question.
Sophia, then
yeah.
just to balance the scales, what do all of us do?
Noir, you type really
No,
loudly.
wait, hold on.
like,
There's one more Austinism that Austin, I hope you appreciate now that you're back on the call. Hello. Hello.
What is that?
It's it'd be like midway through like the most beautiful description of the thing you've ever seen. So you remember that episode of Justice League where it's like that.
A beautiful
I
description,
love referencing
and it's
a
like
thing because my
I
brain
love
just-
it too.
my brain
I like
just
it when I'm
hums
like,
on-
hey,
yeah.
is it like this episode of Justice League? And you're like, exactly like that.
most beautiful description. It's like the one episode of Beetleborgs or whatever.
don't
Oh,
talk.
God.
You
Yeah,
cannot
sometimes
bring the
it's shit I know.
We're
Beetleborgs
not
into
going back
this.
to the Beetleborgs.
Sorry.
It's not a reboot reference.
All right.
Hey,
There's
yeah.
another like quick little question here while Austin is getting back on his feet. Someone asked to me, will the intro to the show ever be fixed from Law and Order to Law and Chaos or Order and Chaos? No, it will not.
Don't ask. Just stop
there's a
asking.
concept in the YouTube space called throwing for content.
That's not what
where
this
you
is. I
deliberately
just
fuck
don't
something
want
up
to
so you
change
get
it.
comments.
Just be weird at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it's been the case for 4 seasons now. Why change it?
It's more
Because
for
it's
the
wrong.
narrative flow,
And
you
she's fixing
know.
it. That's a reason to change it.
It's one of
There's
the
an
beloved things that
underlying
makes our show
assumption
unique.
that they are fighting against chaos.
Yeah.
I don't
Not
think we're.
most
I
of
don't think
the
we're fighting
time.
against it. No, we used most of it. What are you talking about?
No, like in the all right.
Yeah, this next question comes from Shadow W. How does Dani feel being the only non-multiclass? Will she multiclass eventually? I don't think Dani's gonna multiclass. I think if she was ever going to, it would have been when we started, kind of like Finbar showing up with it would have been like a rogue artificer mix, just to kind of get that like street urchin background mixed in. But I don't know if I personally am interested in power gaming enough to introduce a multiclass this late in the game. It would have to be a pretty strong narrative reason for it. And despite getting a little tricky with her cowboy hat, and give gunslinging, I don't know if Dani has necessarily made any sort of narrative choices that would lead to her taking a multiclass into rogue or anything else. I don't think I, the player or the character, have particularly strong feelings about it. I think she's just good at what she does, and she likes doing that thing, and that's a-okay. Her friends like to do a lot of other funky things. That's also a-okay. Wally, do you own a harmonica?
No.
Okay, Space Panini, I'm sorry we cannot get a harmonica toot from Wally for Vhas. Next time. We'll send
Get
him
my
one of...
melodica. That's close
We
enough.
have another season. I can get a harmonica. We can make that happen.
Dream's not
There's gonna
dead
be
yet.
there's gonna be
The,
opportunity.
the only thing is, I don't think. Well, as long as I still get to say toot, then that's kind of the fun. Is like, okay, I give
The thing is, it's
my
not-
harmonica, and then I do the thing. You know.
I don't think I would describe the noise a harmonica makes as a toot.
I also
You know,
don't know if I would
He-
describe it
No,
as a
he
toot.
gives it a toot. Not he does.
Yeah,
he
okay,
makes
fair
different
enough. I
sounds.
understand.
Is that
I understand.
action
now.
giving it a toot? I don't know if that's...
I don't
Just
know.
give it a little toot toot.
I think it is the best descriptor because I can't think of anything else, but I don't think it's the perfect descriptor.
Toot,
Interesting.
toot.
Well,
Toot.
come up with a better descriptor. From now, I'm sticking with toot. Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Mail me harmonicas.
Little blat.
Okay.
We do have a P.O. box if
I
you would
love you
like to
guys.
mail Wally one single harmonica.
Harmonic.
Everyone collaborate.
Beep, beep.
just one.
Just one. Only one harmonica. If we see a second harmonica, we're
Yeah,
sending
all
it
of
back.
you discuss who's gonna do it.
This is one of the stupidest things we've ever... This is the stupidest joke we've ever done. Man. But we'll do another question. This one's coming from the email. How long was Vhas swimming on that waterfall in Easgard for? This is essential information the world needs to know. Please, sincerely, Syrah. between going on their little adventures in Eastgard with Vhas and Eden, how long was he swimming in that waterfall, swimming away?
I'd imagine that after he realized how painful it was to actually, land in the water, got over the shock, he might have swam around for a little bit, and then when Eden showed up, he was like, "Oh, great! Well, I can't fuck around anymore. I kind of have to protect this random robot." So, probably not long. A couple hours, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
not long at all.
Not long at all.
Yeah,
Just a little swim.
he's got the time.
This question comes from Elatus Red. What inspired the design for Suvi's manifestation?
I don't think I had a ton of control over that. So basically, the Astral Monk itself has built into it, and the level progression, the various parts of the body that the astral self manifests from, starting with the arms, then the visage, and then later the entire form. And the quarry are just a thing in 5e. They just kind of look like that. They're these big, like, snake arm spiky guys. So so it was kind of just a combination of that. She was going to have astral quarry arms and then an astral quarry visage, and very little control over that. But
The quarry being like part of the Kalashtar.
the quarry is
yes.
the astral spirit that's bound to the Kalashtar, but again, I don't know how much of the lore has made it into this version of it.
It's different
so-
because that's an Eberron, which
Yeah, exactly.
which does exist out there, as we've learned. So yeah, they're not called Kalashtar. It's not called Quarry here, but
Yeah.
the Quarry come from the Plane of Dreams, which there is not a specific Plane of Dreams in the Planescape that they're playing in, but the Astral Sea is like technically mind space, so that is it's like pretty close. So yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely room if you wanted to change things up, but I also think I think it's cool that Sophia gets to be a big monster.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shadow W asks, at what point while recording does Baldur Gate 3 come out? Was it before or after the Tadpole is Cressida Tadpole is Cressida episode? I think it was before we recorded that episode. I want to say like post episode 3-ish, maybe episode 4.
No. I think
Okay, hold up.
Because the pre-release,
I think episode. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure the pre-release was at least out before the Tadpole and Cressida stuff.
Well,
started
early access
happening.
has been out since like 2020, but
Yeah,
the
but-
game dropped like
on the 4th
of August.
Yes.
I feel like actually episode 7 would have been like the first episode we recorded then, because that was after I moved in to my new apartment.
Yeah, but it was sort of like
so it
in
would
the
have been-
cultural consciousness for like a month before that, and I feel like at least
Yeah, but it wasn't in our cultural consciousness until episode 7. At least that's the first episode that I remember referencing it, at least.
Yeah. By the time we got into the deep mind flayer stuff, it was out enough that Wally and Noir started playing it and could make jokes. All right, we'll take another question for you. Acai Sparrow asks, how's Virla's legal battle against Arcadia going?
Oh, I think at this point, they're a bigger fish to fry.
Big
and-
squids to fry.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean, sorry, finish more. I'll say after you.
well, I don't know. I was actually gonna say like when Austin and I had mutually sort of agreed that there really wasn't going to be much to it. If we were to kind of try and pursue it, I don't really think that I kind of stopped giving a lot of thought to how Virla would approach it, because the problem is that if you don't have like some sort of mechanical system to guide the success or failure of a legal battle, it means that I legitimately have to think of legal arguments against Arcadia. And I'm already doing a PhD. I have no time to pursue a law degree in addition to that.
Yeah, I think it's just it would come down to some dice rolls and some arguing, and I don't know that it would be super dramatic to do it that way. But with the Inevitable, we did get to see a bit of law stuff, and there was the idea that you could have gone and done more law, combating law, and it might have been a bit more gamified if you had continued to pursue the fine print of the contract that you got a copy of in the Hall of Concordance. But that was not a plot hook that you really spent any time pursuing, and then it got resolved. So probably won't come up again. But
And the purpose for Virla copying that contract was not to try and find any loopholes for it. It was kind of it was like the next step of his personal like goal to like try and like come to terms with the idea that he would not own the Paraspora anymore. So I guess what I kind of imagine is that Wolverine meme where he kind of stares longingly at like a picture frame in the bed. It's that, but Virla and like the Paraspora contract. Like
That's very funny.
I want that on my desk by Monday.
Oh, jeez.
My computer's back up. I'm gonna switch back over to my other one.
Yay.
Okay, good. Then I will not ask the
He's back,
question
folks.
directed at you.
back to Austin
This will take
impressions.
literally 4 seconds.
He
there
says,
he goes.
cutting out.
He's gone. Fantastic.
Cool. Well, all of the
Fantastic.
Oh, he's
questions.
back.
Okay, Austin, you back? You hanging on, buddy? You doing good?
Hello?
Hello,
He's vibing.
hello. He's chilling. He's hanging. He's being.
We don't hear you if you're speaking.
I see it green, but I hear nothing.
Yes.
Oh no.
Close and reopen
Input
He's
Discord.
trapped in limbo.
Leave the call.
Next
close
adventure,
the
rescue the
Discord
DM.
application and reopen it. It's probably just a routing issue since you restarted. It should be okay.
He's been sealed in a magical
He's
crystal
saying
for
that
10,000
I don't think he
years.
can hear us. I'm willing to
I
bet.
can hear you.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
Oh, no.
I'm not dead.
He's free of the crystal.
all right,
Everybody hush.
It's just
Austin,
the RTC need to connect. It was fine.
we got some
There we
questions
go.
for you.
I would love to answer.
Mask of the Red Inconvenience to Austin. Emerson says he found Virla in the world at the center of all worlds. Where actually is Virla from specifically?
How would your character
Gotta
know
be
that?
sigil, right? Yeah.
Are you asking me? Because I don't know.
No, I'm asking the player. How would their character learn that lore secret? Ask me at the end of the campaigin.
We find
Boss-
wherever his serial number is stored and look it up in the
Yeah,
Hall of Concordance.
exactly.
I will
Voss just
say-
ask.
I will say there was some. I think it was episode 4 when we were in Pandemonium and Virla was introducing ourselves. I might have said that like I am Virla Mechanus. I think that was more of a misspoken thing than anything. If anything, Virla would say that he is from the Astral Sea or from the Paraspora. Or maybe
Okay.
he just to like keep up appearances and stereotypes, he'll just say that he's from Mechanus so people won't ask him questions. But
Yeah,
Virla does not
easy enough.
Yeah, Virla would
Yeah.
not believe that. Virla does not believe that he's from Mechanus, and as evidenced as by the fact that he's never really done a lot of work into trying to figure out, like what his lost memories were and kind of the specific circumstances around them, or even his life before joining the Paraspora. He doesn't really care. Virla said goodbye to the old Virla when he toasted him and Emerson during the wedding, so
Aw.
Oh.
he's dead now.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
someone had asked about like Virla's parents. I was like, I don't think Virla cares about Virla's parents.
No,
Like,
Yeah.
that's
that
not
means
a
that
plot
Virla,
hook anymore.
if Virla's parents were to show up, that'd be a real trip.
Yeah, that's kind of it comes up.
But just
I,
be like Danny's family.
Writing
It's
it
like
down.
yeah.
I know that a lot of campaigns go there where they're like, we have family strife and we got to go back and deal with the family. And I'm like, this is, D&D is a moving forward, things in front of you kind of game. I like to just introduce new problems, and if the players aren't like particularly interested in exploring, like mining the depths of like their, like trauma, but mundane trauma. Like
Yeah.
it's, it sucks to not know your family, but that's a normal world sucky thing, and we got squids to fight. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wanna-
this is why I gave Finbar a giant family and no family drama. I'm just like, that's fine. He's got a
There are two
regular
approaches.
regular
Hey,
family.
I also
Everyone
gave Virla
likes
no family
everybody.
drama. I gave Virla no family.
Me
See?
too.
Me 3.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
axe.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, no, this is something I want to touch on because
Save axe.
I misspoke a little bit in episode, is it 2 or 3, Eye of the Ifrit, where I said, I don't want them ever look at me again. That was, I never intend to
Oh,
do
yeah.
a Dani secret royalty or like long lost family thing. I think for me and the character, at least, like what I was interested with her is built up from nothing, always looking forward, always moving on to the next thing and who she can become. And I don't know that plot line is something that I was interested in or really thought about. I've seen a little bit of people being like, but she said again, what does again mean? And that's just Sophia doesn't know how to talk after talking for 2.5 hours, and it didn't make sense to cut it out of the edit because it was in the middle of a sentence and I couldn't get it to do cleanly. People would have been like, what did she cut out in the middle of the edit? So yeah,
mean,
that's
As
I-
a treat. next game I'm gonna play someone with a big family
I
and like
have-
secret royalty drama and like.
I've played the secret
We'll get there.
nobility thing in home games before, and it can be really fun, but it has to be what you want for that character. And I don't think that that's really what was interesting to me about Dani as a character. I think what's interesting about her is that she is a character that is constantly moving forward and developing and building upon what's already happened. And to go backwards and do the like secret family, secret nobility, secret royalty, whatever it is, family kind of drama, I don't think would make sense for the story that we've been trying to tell so far.
My interpretation of that line was like kind of in keeping with what you were just describing. Dani, when she was kind of an orphan, she was much
She's
more
still
worried.
An orphan.
Well,
Being
okay,
an orphan
Dani when she was
something that gets undone.
Yes, you're correct. I'm sorry. Dani when she was a waif on the streets.
But a little.
Was...
Can I, please, sir? Can I? Oh wait. Please, sir. Can I have some more?
No, but like during that time before she got picked up by Otto and the Heap, like I had a sense that like the Afridi were a much more real concern and like just like the authority of Brass. And then when she got taken in by the Heap, like that was something that she didn't have to worry about as much because at least like she had a legitimate job and like someone who could vouch for her and shit like that. And so then having to like, you know, as someone who's looking forward, not wanting to go back, having to return to this like mindset of having to be afraid of of like doing an actual illegal thing in Brass in which she now has to worry about the Afridi looking down on her again. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much close to spot on. Like, I think the reason that the again slipped through is just like, yeah, Dani grew up a riffraff street rat, as it were, and always tried to avoid any sort of authoritative eye because it would inevitably lead to the rather authoritarian city of Brass, horrible government system and military system paying any attention to her and possibly throwing her in jail, ruining her life, murdering her, whatever it is. And so that's a lot of why the Eye of the Afridi episode was a great episode for the Dani season, and also the one thing she didn't want to do. You know, it's the one adventure that plays on all the childhood traumas. It's like, oh, this is the one where like this could really this affects Dani on a personal level in the way that the other adventures, even the ones where she's died, don't. They're I don't want to say external because obviously she cares about the crew quite a bit. Like the crew is her new found family, but it's not something she's grown up fearing for I don't know 20 odd years, and instead is this thing, this like existential horrifying thing that you don't just get over that because one of your friends tried to sell the ship to someone else. You know, you can't just walk into a situation and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to turn off the little traumatic flip in my brain and be okay with doing this thing that I am absolutely mortified of. But yeah, that's all to say. I don't really want to do secret nobility plot. Sophia
How
doesn't
dare
know
we
to talk.
reveal to the audience that this is an improv show? We need to be on our game all the time, always.
Oh wait, this is improv?
You guys haven't been painstakingly scripting everything you say?
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Well, I only did that for the season 2 finale, but
No, that whole thing was off the dome.
Well,
yeah.
Of course, yeah. Definitely. Totally.
well, we've got another question from the email from Mars to Austin. I'm about to start DMing a D&D podcast, and I was wondering if you have any advice for creating an engaging plot that'll be fun for the audience. So as it's a little different when you approach a podcast that you're going to publish versus a home game just for your buds at the kitchen table. Do you have any advice for DMs looking to create stories that will not only be fun for their players, but also appeal to an audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you have home games, it's easy to do stuff where you just kind of and there's, for every kind of actual play out there, there's an audience, right? But my advice to make the most memorable one would be that in a home game, you can kind of let your players spin their wheels. You can let things kind of like go nowhere. You can just have episodes where they're just shopping and things like that. You need to have, if you're going to have an audience, you need to have drama. The DM's job is to create drama. So you need to do more prep than you would for a normal game, because in a normal game, you can kind of have that random encounter that's just some wolves to pad out the time. And in an actual play, I think the audience would be a little disappointed by that in general. So having extra encounters, extra things that may happen if they go to this place or do this thing, because you still want to give, you don't want to be scripted. You want to give them the freedom to go do things that you don't expect are going to happen. That's what makes it a fun game. But you need to be willing and ready to make some interesting things happen when they get there, and not just pad it for time. So.
Yeah, I think that's something that, we have sort of a strategy on the show of like try to make things a complete adventure per episode. We sort of lost the you can listen in any order you want thing pretty quickly in season 1, and that's fine. That's making a show and publishing it and finding out what works and what doesn't. We're messing around a little bit, but we've tried to maintain and I think Austin's done a very good job of, you're going to get some complete adventure, even if it's not a complete arc in a single episode. We're gonna go to the city of Brass and we're gonna break into this guy's house and we're gonna steal a bunch of gems, and that's gonna be a whole adventure. Or we're gonna go to a drag race and also fight one of our long-standing big bads, and that's gonna be an adventure. And that sort of helps with the pacing of it for us, but that's not gonna work for every actual play. So you gotta kind of mess around a little bit and see what works for you and your players. I think everything Austin said is very good advice for that end.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question from Teapot in the chat. Are there any plot lines or tropes you feel don't translate very well to the TTRPG format, or that conversely work really well?
I think courtroom plot lines do not work in the
Yeah.
TTRPG format.
As much as I love the idea.
There needs to be some game to it, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's a broad question. I think it's been a really long time thinking about it.
I think if we want to give it a broad answer,
we should have a fishing one shot. Yes, music enthusiasts.
No.
I think as a
Stop
broad
making me
answer,
fish.
the fact is, anytime that there's like a story where there is one solution, like in certain kinds of mysteries where it's like, all right, the killer did this, and there's only one piece of evidence that will clinch this for you. There's only one way to figure that out.
Yeah.
That is hard to translate into a improv game session where, like, because there are things you can do in a mystery where it's like, I'm going to drop this one little tidbit on like page 57 and then it's all going to make sense later. If you drop one little tidbit that's the only thing that can let your players figure out what happened, they're going to miss it and you're going to be upset.
I mean, there are ways around that.
Or they'll pick it up immediately and you burn through like 2 to 3 pages of notes and be like, they already figured out the mystery. So
yeah, exactly.
This kind of gets to the crux of like a TTRPG is more of a sandbox than a Lego set. Like, it doesn't have strict instructions that your players are going to follow. They're going to get to play around a little bit and reshape whatever you put in front of them. So you certainly can, like, you could do a mystery in a TTRPG, and I'm sure someone who is smarter at system planning than I am has probably found a way for you to do a legal battle in a TTRPG that gamifies it and makes it fun to play.
You could probably do it in anything that isn't D&D, but like,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think there are systems that allow for like mysteries, and I think there is one for a legal drama, because I was looking into like, okay, how can we like, can I find a system where I can like rip the mechanics of it and actually try and make a legal battle for use in D&D, but. Yeah, for D&D specifically, very intellectually based challenges or encounters. Like, you've heard like it's the same stereotype where DMs anguish about like how to balance like a puzzle in a temple or a dungeon or something like that, because either you gotta like give the players softballs every time, which like you gotta underestimate, I guess, how difficult the puzzle needs to be, because it'll so that they can actually solve it. And then if they don't end up solving it, everything could just be solved via like an intelligence check, in which you would then just drip feed them clues and stuff like that. And then, at least for that system, at least for this system for D&D, it's not very satisfying. Not even like for an audience, but also just like for the players. Me personally, I love puzzles, so like for my home games, fucking out of character, I'll solve puzzles. Who cares? Give me those. But that's not the case for every group, you know.
This is something that I've noticed as someone who plays a lot of bards. In D&D specifically, and kind of to an extension like Pathfinder and systems that work with similar stat blocks, like things like strength and dexterity, DMs and players alike are more inclined to ask for checks on, because you're not about to actually lift your gaming table when you are asked to make a strength check or try and open a door. But for things like charisma and intelligence, there is something of a tendency to, if it's not explicitly asked for, expect the player to immediately come up with the witty one-liner or think of the solution on their own. And this is treating character stats as player stats, and is something that is difficult to remember to work around, but also something that I think tabletop games both excel and are terrible at the same time. And this is where things like mysteries and court cases fall into play of like, okay, how much of it is just how do you make a system that makes it clear when to call for checks or mechanics of the game versus you, the person playing a character, having to come up with the witty one-liner or the legal argument, and how do you make it so that it's accessible to everyone regardless of how confident they are in their witty one-liners and legal arguments. And so this might be a personal pet peeve because, again, I play a lot of bards, and so I lean on the charisma stat a lot, and I find that I end up not actually using that stat all that much to like make checks and rolls, because it's a thing that I am a person talking, and no one thinks, well, she's being persuasive, so let's make her roll a persuasion check. It's I started to ramble a little bit, but anything that is too soft skill based in a way, I think kind of doesn't work amazing for a TTRPG, unless you have found the system that accounts for that and has made it gamified in some way. Which there are systems that do that. It depends on what you're looking for, but D&D is not necessarily that system.
In my parents' old home game, one of the players who would usually play like the charismatic face character, instead of like having to improvise, witty remarks all the time, he'd just say like witty remark, and then they'd be like, "Wow, what a funny remark that was." So like there are ways around it, but you're right. That's like old school praxis that hasn't necessarily made it to the like post-critical role school of everyone needs to be an amazing actor all the time.
It's fun to be the funny guy at the table, but sometimes you are a human being who is not the funny guy at the table, and your character is this superhuman elf man who can play an musical instrument that you can't, and you need to make them make a witty joke, It's a weird space to operate in. I feel like we've gotten a little far afield, and we're getting towards the end of the stream, so I'm going to ask another D&D-related question.
Yeah, that's it. Go for it.
Astrosloth42 for Austin, how did you come up with the idea for Virla's old crew?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I had all the names really early on. I might have had all the names written down before we even started streaming. Or not streaming, but recording. So I had a vague notion, and... So, and we knew, and they do get mentioned all the way back in season 1. And so I knew some things about them, but then as I was like working through it, I realized that I was like, I created too many NPCs here. So I really need to be judicious with how I deploy them, because otherwise it's going to get really, really crowded. Like it is like a role-playing space. There's just too many voices. So it was then it made sense, for the captain to be dead, for Emerson to have already died, Dexter as the betrayer to not really be, to now be other, and that stripped it down to just 4 NPCs that I really needed to have good like hooks for. And that became relatively easy at that point, because I knew that I wanted each of them to respond to what happened in a different way and respond to Virla's return in a different way. And so you get Sierra, who is generally pretty okay and pretty happy to see Virla, like very happy to see Virla and very happy with everyone. You get Caleb, who's like, it's a little more complicated. Like, he's got some baggage regarding all of this, but overall he's dealing, and, there's this complication with like, oh, Virla's not the person I knew, but I do feel this way. There's Aster, who was, kind of past any characterization point when you first meet her. She's not in a good state. And then there's, I'm totally blanking, Eden, who is, forgive me, I'm really bad with names. There's Eden, who was like actively hostile and mad about everything. So how did I go about it? I just knew that I needed to fill different niches, and I broke it down one at a time, because when I had all the names written down, I was like, okay, there's a lot going on here, and I don't really know how to solve the problem. But you just break it down and say, like, okay, well, I know I need each of them to have a different relationship with Virla, and I know I need, I know about Emerson, I know I need the betrayer, it's Dexter, and so on and so forth. And then before you know it, everything's kind of in place. And then you gotta go by, went by feels, like, well, this character makes sense to, as once I know the personality, it makes sense to be the artificer, and that also informs personality, so on and so forth. So the answer was breaking it down and knowing that I need each of them to be distinct, so that when we met the whole helping of them, everyone could know who was who, without me having to like constantly remind.
Cool.
For me, I didn't have any, like, I knew that Austin was already thinking of something, so I didn't really have to do a lot of work on my end. But I did have, like, ideas of the visuals of them. And I think it was when we were in Iceland, it was actually the time that we had first, like, collaborated and talked about, like, oh, here's what I think that, like, this specific name is like. And I was like, oh, that fits with my idea of, like, there being a big one. And so it was nice how, like, how a lot of that seemed to mesh together without a lot of, like, conflict.
I think it just ends up being like good characterization stuff too. Like we talk about the 5-man band for a reason. You want people to fill their roles, and thus, you know, the crew doesn't slot easily into that. To my knowledge, maybe it does, but the old crew, you know, still draws on some of that trope. You know, some of that, that just good character work.
Yeah.
This question comes from the email. Hello, I was wondering if the crew is all right with fans shipping their characters. I was also wondering what the full list of canon ships is. Thanks if you do end up answering this. I love what you guys do. To answer the second part of that, canon ships, I don't know if we have, like, I don't know if I would use...
Finbar and
I think
Elise.
it's just Finbar and Elise, really. I don't think we tend to think of things... kind of, yeah. I don't know if we think of things in terms of, like, quote-unquote ships per se. It's more just characters have different interactions in chemistry, and that turns out how it will. But to speak for myself...
Trossi and Hera.
Actually, yeah, Karun, Trossi, and Hera are canonically...
yeah, no.
But yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with you guys shipping them.
Yeah, I was going to say, personally,
I mean,
I'm fine with any... If
Go for it.
you know, we put this work out into the world, and I ask that you be respectful and not, you know... Don't come at any cast member for not making your favorite OTP canon or not canon. But yeah, if you guys want to ship and write fanfic, go nuts. That's fan work. Y'all can have fun with that.
Yeah.
All right.
I give Virla too much shit for hating Vhas so much because I think it's much funnier to ship them that way. So like it would be very
great.
disingenuous of me to be like, no, only I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But who do we want to get together?
Well, I think Virla and Maxim should talk out their problems and get married.
I too
but like,
would like
I
someone
just think
else
that would
to
be
be in
good
charge of talking out their problems.
It's funny because Virla thinks that he's like in a much better place mentally compared to Maxim, but also like there's a very real reason why he doesn't really he's like, I'm not really interested in pursuing any sort of relationship right now, and there's a very good reason for that. It's because So, yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, Virla is in a better spot than Matt.
Yes, I know,
Maxim's got
but like
decade-old baggage.
Worrying.
Yeah, no,
Like,
absolutely.
More than that, probably, actually.
But like, there's like just a very big block as far as like the relationship thing specifically. So,
Yes.
Yeah. We'll take another question from the email here because I think it's a fun one. The crew of the Paraspora each get to play one person from the Rolling with Difficulty cast in a D&D game. So Kyana, Dani, Virla, Vhas, and Finbar play a cast member, either Austin, Noir, Wally, Sophia, or Red. Who would play who, and what class would they be?
Wait.
So
there's
there's layers
to
here.
This is
There's a lot of layers here. Okay.
Dense-ending question.
Sophia and Austin, let's just assume that it's like a zombie apocalypse real world one, kind of like we've done before.
Yeah, so for context, for a few years on Halloween, I ran a one-shot for groups of friends where I would assign them all some sort of vague class, some bare-bones stats, and give them like a genre archetype, and we'd play a different genre of like horror movie with a randomly drawn member of our friend group playing each other. So like Noir would play Austin would play X other friend group, etc., etc. So essentially what's happening is, I think the easiest way to do this is to first assign each of us a D&D class, and then to pick which character would play which cast member.
I'll be Bard Rogue. I feel like that's an easy. That's a gimme.
How many of us are going to be Bard multi-classes? Just right
this is fair. You are asking performers.
I have been assigned Barbarian by everybody I've ever talked to about this.
It's
so.
such a clunky multi-class.
I know.
Work.
But it's so fun to say.
Wally, are you Ranger? Is that what's...
I am Ranger. I'll probably go Mono Ranger if it's like an apocalyptic situation, because I'll be that crazy kooky guy going balls to the wall with survival tactics.
I think I'm either Druid or Monk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
that
I
tracks.
definitely
I like
see
Druid.
that.
Yeah.
Or Ranger. That is kind of your job.
Ranger is very much my job, but then I don't want to step on Wally's toes.
Two Rangers.
Are we trying to party balance our actual real life friends?
We already have.
Sorry,
Sorry, we
Wally.
need
What do you
some
guys gotta
DPS
go?
up in here.
We already have
Yeah.
3 bards. Like we can do 3 bards.
Yeah.
For Rangers. Let's.
Oh, so
Maybe I'll
Yeah,
go Druid Ranger. I'll go Druid Ranger.
I will
Drink,
say,
yeah.
I think Virla would offer to GM, so that might like remove one from the party. So
I was gonna say either a Bartificer or just like the world's tiredest fighter for myself.
Bartificer.
Bartificer.
Yes. Oh my God. Hold up. Give me a
Yeah.
second.
The
Let me
secret
roll that
multi-class for
character real quick.
Dani that it
Oh,
takes
God.
amazing restraint for me to not do every single time we level up. Not because it would be good, but just because it would be funny.
there once was a Jenny from Brass who was such a pain in the ass.
So in terms of the characters playing the cast,
I'm gonna take a cop out. Virla's gonna GM. Sorry guys. Good luck.
Ooh, I like it. I love it.
I don't
That's
think
fair.
Dani has. I guess here's the thing.
Sophia
Sophia,
plays Austin.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be true.
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
Virla
Yeah.
plays Austin. Sophia hates power gaming, but Dani is the kind of person who would absolutely power games, so probably would be playing Wally.
Okay,
Alright.
fair enough. Vhas would probably play the Barbarian.
Nice.
Yay.
Yeah.
So that leaves Kyana playing the what was the multi-class for Noir?
Bard Rogue.
Bard
Bard.
Rogue. That's fun. I like it.
And I sit it
then-
out.
Wait, who's Austin playing?
I mean, I don't have a PC, so I was just gonna skip that one.
Oh. All right.
Yeah. We got a question in chat from Shadow W. How do you guys feel about using your characters as NPCs in home games? I've had Dani burn down a place of authority twice now, once in a non-D&D setting. Great. Excellent.
Wait, what? Wait. Once
What
in
an
a
incredible form of immortality we've stumbled upon.
Is this non-D&D setting real life? I hope not, right?
Not as far as I know, but I don't have complete control.
There's going to be an arsonist coming up in the news going by Dani, just Dani.
Dani, just Dani.
Danny's just Danny. I mean, I steal them. I love
Yeah.
knowing that the
As-
NPCs end up.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
That's extremely
As-
cool.
Look,
Yes,
absolutely.
please don't use our characters in another competing actual play. But for a home game, yeah, go nuts. Like, as long as you're not like passing it off as your own character in a published D&D podcast, yeah, you're fine, man. Go nuts. Have fun. Let Dani burn down even more
Steal
things.
the stuff you like. It makes the games more fun. I'm stealing
Yeah.
things constantly.
Like Justice League
Yeah.
episodes.
Like
The
Justice
best-
League episode.
Yeah.
The best feedback we get on this show is that we have inspired people to either play D&D or another TTRPG or to mess around in the Planescape. Like, the best thing that you guys say to us is, oh, I've started also playing and it's so fun. So if you want to make Dani burn down a third thing, hell yeah, man, go crazy.
Only 3. Any more and you're going to have to pay for licensing fees.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Fair enough.
Any more
Danny's
you
gonna
guys
start
did in
charging
harmonica.
hourly. This isn't our idea, by the way. That would just be Dani. Gotta be a responsible businessman.
Someone has to pay the fees to dock the ship every time. It keeps being me.
Hey, if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Also, someone
We got
asked.
time for one more? Can we squeeze in one more?
Yeah, well, we got kind of a question that jumps off from that, stemming off from what Shadow W said. Can we use plot points in Rolling with Difficulty in home games? For example, have it take place several years, decades to centuries after the events of Rolling with Difficulty? Same kind of deal applies, as long as you're not publishing a D&D podcast that is calling itself Rolling with Difficulty and using the characters. You're pretty good. Just feel free to use whatever you want in home games is the rule of thumb. We're not here to police what you take inspiration from. If you want to mess around in
That's
our
awesome,
world, go nuts.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do that and then come in our Discord and tell us what happens because that sounds extremely cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A final question here before we take it out of the stream. Bless you.
Thank you.
Music Enthusiast 135, tangential question, but what does the drink Dani taste like? I kind of imagined it would be like a Mountain Dew, but I do think that there's a lot, like a Code
One of the
Blue.
crazy flavors, like Volt or Code Red.
Yeah. Code Red Mountain Dew.
I imagine it's just.
Dew.
I think it's just a renamed Fago, personally.
Aw.
I really don't know how I feel about Dani being canon.
It's
I
too
don't know how I
late.
feel about like
It's
basically
too late.
Nuka-Cola
It's been
being,
canon.
Like, a thing that
It's
is
been
produced
canon for
somewhere.
so long. It's too late. You can't get rid
I
of
didn't
it.
say I was backtracking it. I said I don't know how I feel about it.
Is it in a plastic bottle?
No, I think it's like a 6-pack of glass bottles. I think it's like a Guarito, you know?
There's no plastic.
I'm just saying.
Actually, the
it's
mind flayers
plastic
can
is-
make stuff that's like plastic, which is what's alien about them. But
Forbidden technology.
yeah, exactly.
Plastics. Yeah.
But that
Dani tastes like cigarettes.
Ugh.
But that is we're gonna start wrapping up the stream here. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us. This will be live as a VOD immediately afterwards, and we'll upload the audio at some point tomorrow. That's gonna be my afternoon. If you have a pressing question, you can email it to us at rollwithdifficulty@gmail.com.
We're also occasionally on the Discord.
So we will do our best to
ask
answer
there as
it.
well.
I know that sometimes people have sent us emails and they have not gotten answered in a timely manner. I do apologize. We all have other jobs, but we will do our best to get to them. If you, the season's over, but there's still a lot of great ways to interact with the show. The Discord that Austin just mentioned is a fantastic community of really cool people who not only like the podcast, but are just fun to chat with about TTRPGs and everything beyond. There's cool fan art, fan fiction, neat discussions going on about who's it's and what's itsing. So please check that out. It's linked in the show notes and description. Additionally, if you would like to support the podcast, even in the break, we do have a Patreon. Patrons get access to exclusive monthly bonus content, a Discord hangout where the cast chats and answers some more questions. We do bonus articles, art pieces, creature stat blocks, all sorts of fun stuff directly from the cast themselves. So if you enjoyed the show, you want to support the podcast, consider becoming a patron.
Yes, and that hangout, by the way, is this Thursday. So if you're like, I can't get enough of this, and you want more soon, you can go sign up at the Patreon right now.
Yeah, and we will be back after the break in January with season 5. There are going to be a couple one-shots in the interim from that. We're going to, look to do one
Are you
around
going to say anything about those one-shots, or are they staying totally secret for now?
We'll do a little bit about one shot. It's going to be around the end of October, early November, so more information to come as we lock some stuff in. But Noir is actually going to be running it, and I don't know if you want to maybe tease what system we're going to be playing in.
Yeah, so we're going to be playing a one-shot in the Avatar Legends TTRPG, I think, which is a system that is powered by the Apocalypse, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're gonna have. Can I say this? Can I say?
Yeah, you can tell us who the guest
Our
is.
very special guest star.
Very special guest star, friend of the channel, Hello Future Me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's so excited
the
to
Avatar
have
man himself.
Avatar philosoph.
Tim on. So look for that one shot late October, early November, and there will be more announcements about that on the community tab, linked on Twitter and whatnot. And there will hopefully be a second one shot after that as well. So things to keep out for. But with all of that said, we do have one final announcement for the Q&A. With season 5, the adventures of the Per Aspera will be coming to a close. We've loved playing these characters, but their stories are just about told. And so season 5 will be the last season of this campaign. We hope you enjoy, and never fear, the Per Aspera campaign might be ending, but the podcast will continue. Rolling with Difficulty will be back with a new campaign and new characters after season 5, and we'll have more information about this as we approach the final season and approach the end of the campaign as a whole. But for now, enjoy the one-shots, enjoy the finale, and we'll catch you out on the Astral Sea.
Woo!
Very, very exciting stuff. We can't wait.
Hell
So,
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Probably
See you
dropping
then.
that one shot, huh?
All right, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for joining us, and